Welcome to the ESPNW Women in Sports Summit, presented by Toyota.
And I am so excited that I'm going to say that exactly one more time. Hello and welcome to the 11th annual ESPNW Women in Sports Summit. I'm Sage Steele, thrilled to be back for our 11th year. And I think I've been here, as far as I can remember, every single year. What an honor. This person is the reason why I'm here and why all of us are tuning in today. She is ESPN's Senior Vice President of Marketing. And I mean, maybe I should put this title before the marketing part today, Laura Gentili, because she's the founder, the creator, the brain behind ESPNW. Welcome.
Welcome.
By the way, Laura was just saying, first time
yes.
on a real TV set?
Yes, a civilian on a set. I'm a little disconcerted. No.
Civilian on a set. Oh, no. By the way, for the next 4 hours and tomorrow, too, you're not allowed to move. You cannot have a potty break, nothing. You are stuck with me.
Just going to stare at you the
okay,
whole time.
That's not a good thing.
Hi, everybody.
By the way, this, okay, like so many other events, and again, welcome, year number 11. Like so many other events, huge events, it's virtual. It's a little bit different this year. Yeah. So needless to say, we love our background and our logo. Past years, we've had the Pacific Ocean behind us, so no offense, that looks great, but it's a little bit of a different view, right?
It's a different view. I mean, being in California, there's nothing like it. Being in the sunshine, there's nothing like it. But it's pretty awesome being in Bristol. And I haven't been on campus since March with the lockdown, so it's awesome to be back, and it is awesome to be on this set with you.
It definitely looks a little bit different than it has in past years, and we'll talk about that coming up. But welcome, because this has been quiet in Bristol, to say the least. So the more people begin to come back, I'm like, thank you.
Feels alive again.
As long as the cafeteria is open, which it has been, that's the most important thing. By the way, with everybody coming in and streaming, this is my first time with anything associated with us, a virtual event. But you and the person we're going to introduce in a second, we're part of that. The May Summit, that's the first virtual one, and that was a success.
That was a huge leap. You know, we've never done anything, like you said, like a virtual summit. And the entire Bristol production crew getting behind us that time was awesome. And now taking it to the next level, being in Bristol. But yeah, last time around we had 19,000 people streaming. Ideally, we ratchet up that number and
keep going?
Yeah, keep going.
So the pressure's on, in other words, especially because I wasn't the host of that one. The host of that one just killed it, as she does pretty much everything. Let's make it official here, because that would not have been possible without Sarah Spain. But Sarah, don't start talking yet. I need to give you the full official intro, because she's a reporter for ESPN, for ESPNW. She's the co-host of Spain and Fitz on ESPN Radio. Hey, I forget it. I could go on and on. Sarah Spain, live from Chicago. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you. Oh my gosh, it's really weird to see Laura at a desk, and it's very strange to be summiting at a TV studio. I mean, at least in May, I was sitting at my house with my bookshelf behind me, crossing my fingers that my internet would work, and it felt very like, picking ourselves up by our bootstraps. We're going to make this summit work however we can. And now, instead of being at the beach or even at my house, we're actually in a studio doing this. So we got to work really hard to make sure we make it just as fun and relaxed and comfortable and conversational as it always is when we're hanging on the beach together in our workout outfits.
Yeah, I mean, that's always the beauty, right? It's like we get really comfortable. We really get, friends. We act like our friend self less than our professional selves. And so we'll try to duplicate that here, even though we're a little more fancy.
So for those of you who are joining us for the first time, this is what we will be doing hopefully a year from now. But how about that? Look at that view.
Pretty nice.
Not bad. But honestly, I'm a positive person. I think we all are, glass half full people. And there actually is a true silver lining, in my opinion, to the fact that we're not there, because it's a hard ticket to come by. We sell out very quickly now. It's not easy to get there. So that's why to bring thousands of other people in virtually is really, really a true blessing. Real quick, though, because you just saw the pictures. For those of you, again, joining us for the first time, Sarah, one word to describe the vibe at the summit every year. What would you say?
I'm going to give you 2 words with a hyphen it instead.
Okay,
because
that's fair.
this is what I always use more words than necessary. Ask literally anyone who's ever met me. I always say when I leave, and I just posted this on Insta too, I feel like I want a Kool-Aid Man style, like run through a wall and go into my company and my community and my household and make all these changes and take all these great ideas and sentiments and insights from what all the people that we're going to hear from, and really just, like break through things that are standing in my way. And so I think even though the vibe is friendly and fun and almost familial, especially with the people who come back year after year. By the time you're done, it's just this inspirational feel of like, okay, whatever's been standing in my way is not going to stop me.
What do you think,
Sage, there's always been, a reason behind taking everybody away and going to a beautiful setting. And it's just to escape a little bit, get away from your work life, get away from any responsibilities you have, and really just think for 2 days and really be in your own head and think about your dreams and your goals and what haven't you gotten to yet.
Right.
And so ideally we can duplicate that. Again, we're not feet in the sand or anything like that, but ideally we'll be able to get people thinking.
I do want to acknowledge the fact that, again, everybody's here for the first time. And for those of you following online, I mean, by the way, keep chatting in the room and keep sending us messages. We are following you, especially Sarah Spain, because she's watching everything on social media, and she will call you out if you're not talking enough, probably. Unless it takes airtime away from Spain, then just stop. But I did want to point out real quick, again, we've all had a lot of time sitting home to think about things, think about maybe what can we do better in our lives, in our communities, for our employers, at our offices. What's something that you've taken away? First of all, I know you've been busy. You have 3 little boys.
Yes.
What's something that you've taken away from being home with them while trying to work, while making sure we get the summit on the air to make a difference?
Well, I think for all of us, it's given us perspective, right? We've been in some semblance of a lockdown for 7 months, and not many of us anticipated that. So the idea of just thinking about what's really important to you and really thinking about, again, what you want to achieve moving forward, how you want to achieve it. This whole integration of work life and personal life has never been more top of mind. And we're all at home. We have children. Some of us have children. We have family members. We have people to be responsible for and with. And it just helps you kind of put things into perspective. For me, I feel blessed that I love my career. And for me, it's gratifying that I kept 3 little boys alive. I know, they're alive. With my cooking and my grilling and my limited house chore doing skills.
They are alive and they are thriving. Absolutely. I think we're all going to look back, and again, as difficult as it's been, there's so much positive that has come out of it. And again, the fact that all of us are here today.
That was a beautiful sentiment from Laura, and I agree that so many people are finding that balance, and the things that they thought that they needed more of or less of, they're starting to realize what they can do without. But Sage, I think that your lesson is even a better one, and that is that over the last few months, you have learned how to post the perfect thirst trap. And I'm not letting this summit go on until we acknowledge that Sage has figured out how to make us all be like,
what are you doing? Get that off the screen.
That is called a thirst trap, Sage, and I submitted it to them so that we could all recognize that over the course of the last few months, you went from here I am on set to like, whatever, here's my abs.
Yes, Sarah, let's just be clear here, Sage. Don't be embarrassed by your abs. Don't pretend you're embarrassed by your abs.
Own the abs.
I'm going to kill you later. She's lucky she's in Chicago right now. But here's the thing. At home with 3 teenagers, that was my escape every day. And I will say, listen, don't make fun. You had to tell me what a thirst trap was. I think I'm 10 years older than you, Sarah. So you have to slow down and define these phrases for me. Thank you for blowing me up. This is a long couple days, and I will get you back. In the meantime, we have so much to get to, especially here on our first day. Take a look at this. You talk about an amazing lineup of guests here. I mean, I can't read them all out because it'll take me all day long. But again, how about DeMar DeRozan, the NBA representing us? Chelsea Clinton coming up. So many great guests.
How about our own Julie Foudy?
Foudy. We don't call her Julie, do we? We just call her Foudy. So that's just a sampling of who's coming up here today, and then we have a lot more tomorrow as well. We have a lot of people. We need to give some shout outs, give some love out to the many, many people and groups and teams that are tuning in.
It's impressive. I have a little list here because we always want to check on our registrants, but bear with me.
Checking.
We got folks from the Minnesota Lynx, Air Force Football, Colorado Avalanche, Rockies, and Rapids. A lot of teams from New York. Giants, Islanders, Jets, Knicks, Liberty, Mets, Red Bulls, and Yankees.
That's 8. That's a lot.
And I'm hoping we could be a little bit of inspiration to the Jets, even though I'm not a Jets fan, but they need it.
They need something.
The Seattle Storm, 4-time champs, are joining us. U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee, the ACC. And then we have folks from Australia to Brazil, believe it or not. I'm told folks from Berlin, Connecticut to Berlin, Germany. Ghana.
That's impressive.
Rio, Kuala Lumpur always gets in there. and then a Fiji rugby club, the Fiji Rugby Club.
Yes.
Wait. Sarah, don't you think we should try to attempt to maybe take the summit to Fiji one of the next upcoming years?
We were trying to go to
Brazil,
Vancouver before the
Fiji,
lockdown.
Bali.
Vancouver's next.
Okay, on the list. Who you got, Sarah?
Well, I mean, if you're going to mention New York, of course, I have to bring in my Chicago bias. We got the Bulls, the Bears, the Blackhawks, the Fire, the White Sox, the Sky, the Cubs. And I know there's Red Stars people watching. You maybe didn't register under your own team name, but I know you're out there, Red Stars. So I love that. I love all the teams and employees that are coming in to join us.
Yeah, and one
and
more.
also, by the way,
go ahead.
we'll shout out all you people out there, too. Last time, hashtag ESPNW Summit, a bunch of you sent in photos of how you were watching, and some people were like in the woods with a glass of Chardonnay on a deck. I want more of that. I want to live through you. So send us all those tweets of where you're watching and how.
And just one more shout out. I was told the Warsaw Sports Marketing Center, Emily Watts is a student there. They're having a virtual viewing party. So that's pretty inventive and pretty cool.
Wait, can I give a couple of shout outs too?
All right.
I mean, how about the Butler women's basketball team? Because Butler, of course, is in Indianapolis. Hi, ladies. My brother works for the Baltimore Ravens. Got to say hello, Ravens. Hello, Orioles.
Yes.
The Golden State Warriors. I mean, we like these championship teams. The Kansas City Chiefs, all the Tampa teams, right? The Bucks, the Lightning, and the Rays. Quite a successful time in Tampa sports. Most importantly, I think, no offense to all that, ESPNW, the entire team that you have put together.
Well, yes, it's a way of putting it, but the entire company is now behind ESPNW and our commitment to women. So that's been pretty gratifying to see over 11 years. And since May, the team continues to roll and continues to produce amazing content. Led by Carol Stiff and Kate Leonard, we had a whole initiative called When We Play in June. Again, in the midst of no live sports, let's create some original programming. Let's look back at some amazing women's sports and really focus on the women's game. So we did that back in June. We just won an Edward R. Murrow Award for a great story.
That's a big deal.
Yes, about Shelley. I don't know if anybody's heard of Shelley Pennefather.
Yeah.
But she was the all-time leading scorer at Villanova, male or female, and created a great feature with the SportsCenter team, the ESPNW team and the SportsCenter features team. Won big awards, but more importantly, got to tell her story, who Shelley became a cloistered nun and really just made a huge decision to change her life and spend it in a unexpected way and a beautiful way. And so we told that story, and it's just one of the many powerful stories from W, because when you think about why we started ESPNW, it was to tell stories, it was to provide inspiration, it was to obviously show our commitment to women, and then also shine a huge spotlight on women's sports. So the team continues to roll. Sarah's got her podcast, Julie has her podcast, and we're just, the team has never been stronger.
How about that? This little idea all those years ago that you decided to share with a couple of people, and now not only is it a blast and we have formed so many beautiful relationships, it is helping thousands and thousands of women around the world currently, and of course we're all looking to those young girls who are watching and trying to be the next Sarah Spain. Sarah, I know you have an announcement as well.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, I mean, the W support is falling in line with the growth of women's sports across the country of leagues. We saw WNBA with record ratings and viewership during this weird wobble season. And now this Athletes Unlimited, which I heard about from the ground level, one of the softball athletes coming on our show right before they formed this. But it's a new women's sports league called the Athletes Unlimited, brought together 57 of the world's best softball players. I got to throw out a virtual first pitch alongside people like Natalie Portman and Billie Jean King. And you've seen the games probably across ESPN's family of networks. It's really cool. They put the athlete in charge of a lot of stuff off the field and things that happen within the league, give them the power. And they already announced that they're going to be doing an upcoming pro indoor women's volleyball league this coming February. And then today we are announcing for the first time that there is going to be an Athletes Unlimited network of leagues expanding in summer 2021, including Athletes Unlimited lacrosse. And they already have signed 22 of the world's top players for that lacrosse league, going to be July 19th through August 22nd of next summer. And we've got a little video here on the Athlete Unlimited Lacrosse League, narrated by advisory board member, someone you guys know well, who we're going to hear from tomorrow, Abby Wambach.
Take away the team owners. Take away the franchises that leave town. Take away the mid-season games that don't matter. Take away the idea that a woman's career ends because she has a baby. Take away adding a W to a men's league. Take away all that And what are you left with? The world's best athletes. Changing the game, one sport at a time. Athletes Unlimited.
That is awesome. It's perfect for what we are trying to do, what we have done, but certainly what we're trying to do. Progress really does equal investing in women's sports, and we're going to talk about that specifically in our first panel coming up. By the way, how about that, Sarah, the voice of Abby? She doesn't even need a last name. It's like Madonna.
Love it.
Abby, yes. Okay, we could not be doing this without our amazing sponsors. Can I give the first one? We've had them here for 8 years now. Presenting sponsor, Toyota. They have made such a commitment to us, so thank you to Toyota.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a beautiful thing of all these sponsors. They've been with us and by our side and helping us grow the entire time, and Toyota's at the forefront for sure.
Gatorade is one that we absolutely look forward to having every single year as well. And Sarah, sporting the Gatorade gear every year, yelling at people from the back of the boot camp class, talking trash the entire time.
I got it with me. I always got my Gatorade.
Gatorade, again, that is from the very beginning. All 11 years with Gatorade?
Yes.
That's incredible. Thank you, Gatorade.
Founding partner, in fact.
Founding partner, Toyota, Gatorade, Wells Fargo. And what's Wells Fargo's role again here this year, Laura?
Office hours are huge for us, and you'll hear that when it comes to the Women of ESPN, which is basically our concluding panel. And then everything we're doing on social is coming from Wells Fargo.
Thank you, Wells Fargo. And that's a lot, by the way, a reminder. And I'd like to say a hello and thank you to a first-time partner of ours, which is AT&T. We are thrilled to welcome you to the family. We expect to see you back here next year as well.
We sure do.
Laura.
Yeah. And I want to mention, by the way, when it comes to these sponsors, and I did get permission to tell this, it has nothing to do with the summit. Probably 9 or 10 months ago, I reached out to a friend that I met through our ESPNW summit over a number of years working with the Toyota folks, John Lisco. He put me in touch with the Toyota folks here in Chicago and Saatchi and Saatchi's local branch here, and helped me get a brand new Toyota Sienna van for a family that I've become friends with. We've rescued 2 dogs through their dog rescue foundation that they started. They have a son who was born with a failure to thrive and then was diagnosed with spastic cerebral palsy, epilepsy, pulmonary disease, and medical fragility. And they need to be able to take this van and use this grant from the state to adapt it so that he doesn't get taken off all of his medical equipment when he goes in and out of cars to doctor's appointments and stuff. And they were struggling to find the funds for it. I reached out, and Toyota and Saatchi got them a brand new van just because of the connection that I had through the summit, and because I knew that they were partners and that Toyota is about movement and motion and staying moving. And again, has nothing to do with this summit. I had to ask if I could tell this story because I was just literally brought to tears, especially in 2020 when nothing is good.
Yeah.
There's so little good to find that like these people were willing to reach out and help this family that's so deserving, and it just, I was so grateful that I had met all of them through the summit.
Listen, I know you're not going to do this, so I'm going to do it for you. Kudos to you. That started with you.
Right.
And because you said, hey, even if you get a no, it's worth an ask, and you have changed the life of this little boy and the family. So good for you, Sarah Spain. Let that be an example for all of us.
Yeah, for this summit, like let's take all these things we hear and learn about and all this motivation and then figure out how do we put it into practice. Instead of just believing it, what are we doing in our community, in our home, in our company to actually take these ideas and make a difference? Because you can do it, even little things and big things.
That's the thing. Through all these 10 prior years, I think we've all left the summit, no matter where it is, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It's that you're together with the right people and you leave inspired and feeling like, I absolutely have to do more, and Sarah Spain just proved that. Beautiful.
And if there's one theme that basically was consistent for all 10 years, actually 11 years now, is that we're creating change and opportunity and really trying to drive change and really bringing up topics and issues that don't always get talked about. So the last thing we're going to leave you with in this opening is our opening sizzle. And every year this provides quite a lot of inspiration.
Yep.
Since this year was different, we're telling the story of a very different sports season for many female athletes and many women's teams. But again, it's a story of resilience and staying strong when things get tough, and the fact that not only W, but all of us just keep going. So take a look.
None of us could have imagined this. Overnight, everything stopped. Well, everything except for us.
We are the most competitive, compelling league in the world as other leagues are shutting down.
Depina's shot!
We kept standing up and speaking out. We skipped 2 seasons to fight for a man's innocence.
We need to be people before players right now and just say something.
We knelt in solidarity, stood up in solidarity, quit and formed our own team in solidarity. We made the world pay attention. We did more than just shut up and play.
I'm fighting for the future for my future grandchildren.
We kept pushing every envelope, every statistic, every stereotype. We raised the bar higher and higher, and we met it again and again and again.
One day, a woman will be hired as a coach, will not be a headline.
We kept moving the finish line back. We led offenses and protests. We made history and headlines. We funded our own teams, ran our own leagues.
We will get to set a model for how women in sports should be treated.
And snagged the biggest sponsors in the game. We shattered ratings records, world records, our own records.
A record 16 assists for Bird.
We became the best in the world and the best paid ever. We became authors and activists, barrier breakers and stakeholders, full-time moms and full-time champions. We became MVPs and CEOs. We became household names in every home.
Sabrina Ionescu becomes the first pick.
The truth is, we always move forward. Every year we do more. Every year we get better. No matter what we're up against, no matter what the odds are, we keep going.
There you go. So
Yes!
do you want to run through a wall, Sarah?
I do. I'm already Kool-Aid Man, and we haven't started yet. Am I turning red? I can feel it already. I want to go back to Summit 1 and look at the difference between that video and this one and just remark at all the ways that we've taken steps that we never could have imagined even just 11 years ago. It's so
We'll
awesome.
do that next summit. We'll create a 20-minute sizzle reel for everybody.
Yes. Sit back, relax.
But thank you both. I want to just wish you a great show and be your beautiful selves. Thank you.
Thank you for being our fearless leader. And now don't you leave. You're with me. You're with me for the entire summit. Thank you so much to Laura for leading the way and being such a great example. By the way, we have, gosh, I keep telling you about the people, the lineup that we have today. Simone, Manuel, world-class athlete conversation, and Simone Manuel, the champion swimmer, as well as Jewell Loyd from the WNBA, a star in her own right. We cannot wait to have them coming up here. Maria Taylor will be talking to the two of them in just a little bit. So we look forward to that. I'm just going to keep teasing and teasing and teasing because we have that much to bring you today. One of the keys to success in any industry, any sport, any business, in my opinion, I hope you agree, is leadership. So who sets the tone in your office? Who sets the tone with your team? Who sets the tone in your home? Go ahead and answer that question. At the end of the day, we hope that the person that sets the tone is setting a great example, a true leader. Every year here at the summit, we set the tone off the top with an awesome leadership panel. And this year's, I believe, as always, this year's is absolutely phenomenal. So I'm going to take you through a couple of intros, and there they are. Hello, ladies. Okay, I'm going to start wait, this is my, so to the right of the screen. I always do the right-left thing. I always get confused when I'm on TV, even after 25 years. It's kind of scary. Okay, we're going to begin on the right side of your screen with someone who describes herself as not the typical sponsorship lead. More on that to come. That's another tease. Bachelor's degree from UCLA, an MBA from Pepperdine, and that place is real. I drove by it. I thought this has to be fake. Pepperdine's real. Currently lives in Los Angeles as the assistant vice president of sponsorships and experimental marketing at AT&T. Shiz Suzuki, welcome. Thank you for being here. How'd I do in the intro? I know I left out a lot. We'll get to it. I got everything right though?
Yeah, no, that was awesome, Sage. Thanks for the great intro.
Okay, oh, much more to come. I have to nail this. This is the first panel. It's the leadership panel. Also, you talk about someone who has led a fascinating life leading up to where she is today. Long before getting in the sports world, she was a recording artist with stars like J-Lo and Pitbull. I'm sure there's some fascinating stories to tell from your days working with people like that, Monica. Master's degree from MIT Sloan School of Management. She is now the Vice President of Marketing with Budweiser. Monica Modi, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. And this is something that I think every year people who have attended the summit know. I kind of like to know the backstory, the who you are. first before we get to the title and the fancy stuff, because I really feel that all of our journeys tell such a story and maybe give us some insight as to not just why we are where we are today, and I'm talking about you, not me, but how we got there. So Shiz, let me start with you. Your story is absolutely fascinating, how you got here today. The Cliff Notes version, go.
Yeah, so thanks for having me, Sage. So you're absolutely right. I consider myself, call it the unconventional sponsorships lead, especially for a company as large as AT&T. I come from an immigrant family. We arrived in the United States, I call it with $200 and a dream. And I'll never forget in my younger years, growing up in a really small town called Litchfield, Minnesota, and all the kids my age were boys, and they always used to tell me things like, well, you know, if we're playing war, women don't go to war, and they would not play with me. But I always found it really ironic by the fact that every morning going to school, they would knock on my door to come get me because there was a really scary dog on the way to school. And guess who was the only person who wasn't afraid of the dog? It was me.
Of course.
And so, you know, I think that has kind of defined, and has been representative of, call it, my leadership approach and my career. I've been with AT&T 13 and a half years, and I have had an incredible 9 different roles with the company. And so everything from managing a call center to being out in the field. I have been a construction manager with hard hat, boots, the whole 9 yards, all the way to the role that I have today, which is absolutely incredible. So everything from setting the portfolio strategy, meaning that what properties are we sponsors in, to, you know, how do we bring that to life in conjunction with the brand and all of the activation and experiential. So I'm certainly super blessed, and I've got an incredible team, best in the business. So bit of that unconventional story of how I've gotten here today.
By the way, you mentioned your team and an incredible feat in sports marketing with such a large corporation that you work for, but isn't your entire team made up of all women?
It's a good number of women, I would say. I'm really proud of the fact that we have a really diverse workforce. I know we'll talk about this in a little bit on why that is important, but certainly, you know, it is unconventional from the aspect that when we got into esports and gaming, for example, it was an all-female team, which is almost unheard of in the business. So I'm really proud of them.
And thank you. You absolutely should be. Monica, before I bring you in, we weren't sure if we were going to get our third panelist, and I have been told that she is here. So I'm going to give her a little intro, and then we're going to be whole. We're going to continue. This final panelist describes herself, and I love this, as a professor of sports. She's a graduate of the University of Michigan, and oh, by the way, she's an Olympian. No big deal. An Olympic rower, 2002 world champion, won a silver medal at the 2004 Games with the rowing team in Athens, and still an Olympic and world record holder. Hall of Famer at the University of Michigan as well, after being a 3-time All-American. I'm kind of obsessed with her. Her official title, let's bring her in, is the head of global sports and entertainment marketing at Google. Hello to Kate Johnson. How are you?
Hey guys,
Yay.
Good to be here.
We got you.
Woo, I made it.
We got you. You're here. I'm like, no. We need Kate for sure. Okay, stand by. I hopefully you heard Shiz give her story, and I'm going to have Monica give hers as well. And you know how I like to start, Kate, just to give the personal background. So you'll go right after Monica. But Monica, again, your journey to get here, so unique. Take us through it.
Yeah, so I mean, mine is similar as well. My parents emigrated here from India, so I was, you know, a first generation Indian girl growing up in Ohio, a suburb of Cleveland. And I think one thing that really shaped me was my mother. She was very much committed to ensuring that I tried anything and everything, whether or not I was good or not. So everything from, you know, your science Olympiads and math clubs to basketball and swimming. And so as I was growing up, I never made it to the teams, the big teams. I always aspired to be, you know, an athlete, and you know, I was able to admire from afar. But then I moved to New York in 2000 for my undergraduate career, and it was there where I sort of fell back in love with music. I'd been doing music my whole life. And sort of the story of my whole life has really been exploration. I've had an extremely curious mindset, never afraid to reinvent, never afraid to try many things at once, and also not afraid to drop something and start something brand new. So when I got to New York, doing my undergrad years at NYU, I fell back in love with music, which was also something I was exploring as a child. And much to my surprise, I ended up signing a record deal, recording my own album. I toured for a little bit. I had a few singles here and there, and then I started writing for other artists. So I have written for Jennifer Lopez, Pitbull, to name a few. And then I hit a point where I realized I loved music. I loved touching a lot of hearts and minds of people, but I really wanted to attach it to something that could be even more transformative. And so that's when I went back to school, and I had various internships. I interned at Nike for a summer, which was fascinating. I realized how much I loved working with athletes. Yet again, here I was back being inspired, and ultimately I landed at Budweiser. So I've been with Budweiser for the last 7 years. And it's been really exciting to take that underdog mentality, the reinvention mindset, and really reimagining what a brand like Budweiser that's so masculine can do in the world of women. So that's my story.
That's the short version, because I know how much more there is. But how, Monica, have you been able to weave your love of music and your experience in that industry into what you're doing now at Budweiser?
Yeah, the thing with Budweiser is it's been around since 1876. So many generations of people's understanding of what the brand is. And I came in with a very different mindset. I didn't have a traditional marketing background. It was kind of the opposite. I operated mostly from my heart and in the creation space. So it was really helpful to come in and not be like everyone else. And, that was scary at times, and probably scary for people around me. But, when you couple sort of that different mindset with the scale and the power of a brand that is really at the DNA of American culture, that's when you can really make a big difference. And that's where I think that sweet spot was for me in my career.
Okay, I would like to get back to this and get a viewpoint from all three of you. You said something that really stands out there, Monica. Important to not be like everyone else, and absolutely is scary. But sometimes fear, when we feel that, right, that's even more reason that we know we have to continue to push through. So I'd like to get all your thoughts on that in a second. But first, it is your stage, Kate. Take it away. What's your story? How'd you get here?
What's my story? Well, I'd love to find the line where I ever call myself a professor of sport, because in fact, I would say the opposite. Maybe I've grown into definitely an expert in sport.
We are calling you that. We're giving you that title then.
I'll take it. I actually started as an Olympic athlete, like you said in my bio. And for me, though, I grew up in Portland, Oregon, right, where I was rowing on the Willamette River every day. Nike was in my backyard. And in the 90s, they did this campaign, If You Let Me Play, which was all about speaking to young girls specifically about what happens to them when they get involved in sport. And honestly, that set me on my path. I went down to a local rowing boathouse and tried the sport for a couple of strokes. The coach, with some positive reinforcement, was like, I think you're going to be great at this. And that was it. I mean, I went home, I wrote in a diary, I will go to the Olympics one day in this sport. I knew within 2 weeks that I loved it that much. So that just launched me, and really was my focus for the next 8 years. And then from there, and this is a big passion piece for me, it's that Olympic athlete transition, which I think goes undiscussed frequently. The trick is athletes don't know what's coming next. They don't know what their next step is going to be in life always. They're so focused on the singular goal. And so for me, I always thought I'd go on to more than one games, but I had this itch that I needed to scratch, which was really about my career. And so I launched myself into New York City after the Olympic Games, and started an 8-year career at IMG, where I pulled back the curtain on the Olympics, which is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and got into Olympic consulting at IMG. That took me to London, where I lived for 3.5 years, leading Olympic consulting for IMG over there with clients like British Airways, Cadbury, Rio Tinto. And then eventually I came to Visa in San Francisco, where I led the global sponsorship marketing team there for the last 7 years. But a quote that I live by is, the most important thing at any moment is to be willing to sacrifice what you are for what you could become. And so for me, that decision to kind of reinvent yourself at any moment where you start to feel a little bit stagnant is really important for me. And so, you know, here I find myself at Google, where reinvention is the key, but more so actually for Google in some ways as it relates to sports and entertainment. I'm really helping them kind of write the strategy for what our approach is going to be in sport more specifically as it relates to kind of these long-term integrated marketing partnerships that we're going to start to build a lot of muscle in.
I have like 600 questions for you after that intro, Kate. Many things stand out, but when you said that athletes don't know what's coming next, 100%. I just never thought of it that way. That has got to be a huge plus for you in business, with putting the fear maybe behind you and any kind of fearlessness, get it out of the way, because you've proven that it's okay to not know, right? How is that I guess, transferred into your business career?
Totally. I mean, think about it. Most Olympic athletes go from being, and just elite athletes in general, you go from being the best in the world at something one day to then, you know, frankly, embracing this novice mentality again the next day. And I really think that's what it comes down to. I mean, this growth mindset that you've heard both other panelists speak about is so important. And so I do think as you kind of make your way into career and you know, plot that path, no matter how senior you get, just embracing that growth mindset, that power of reinvention is everything. And I think you've heard that. That's certainly the thing the three of us have in common, is just that ability to kind of leap into the unknown, but know that there's no right or wrong. There's just growth.
Absolutely. But again, driving home one of the reasons why we are here, why Laura thought of ESPNW, the entire concept, and just the Women in Sports Summit and sports, and how it really ties in to everything all of us do, sometimes in even really indirect ways. Shiz, let me come back to you, because I mean, obviously each of you and your respective brands, you're walking the walk. You're not just saying it, you're doing it, and you are investing in women's sports, and in ways that frankly make impacts that are sometimes even indescribable. So if you could start with this, Shiz, tell me a little bit about that decision-making process and what went into some of your more recent partnerships with companies that are also all in on this and committing to women.
Yeah, our sponsorships and partners, I mean, certainly every single one of them, we are in them for a very particular reason. And there's a lot of research and thought and care that goes into when we get into these partnerships. And so certainly, number one, first and foremost, there has to be a connection in with, call it from a brand level, right? And so when we think about a corporate brand, or any brand actually for that matter, it's really that emotional meeting ground between a company and its people, whether that be customers, employees, etc. And so there has to be a match there from a brand level. We also consider it from a fan base perspective as well, right? In terms of, you know, at the end of the day, in terms of sponsorships and partnerships, it is really about connecting in with these fan bases. And, you know, the value system of these partners is something that's really important to us, and that also has to align with us at the corporate level. And so, you know, that has to be everything from, call it, the passion around elevating women, whether that be in front of or behind the camera, whether it be the athletes themselves, whether it be in, if it's a men's sport, then it would be growing the female fan base. So there's a lot of different factors that we take into consideration across, you know, call it all of our partnerships. You know, gender equality and diversity to us is a core value for the company, and is something that we're frankly really passionate about. And then you marry that in with, call it, the sports sponsorships and the passion that we have there, and it becomes this really great, you know, thing that comes together. And so, you know, for us, as an example, the WNBA has just, you know, of course, just wrapped an incredible season. This is a partnership that we got into about a year and a half ago with the overall sponsorship of the NBA, of course, USA Basketball, men's and women's, 2K League, G League, etc. The W for us was a really important component of this entire, call it, incredible package, and it was one that we got into very thoughtfully. We're really proud about the fact that we are the first non-apparel brand to be on all 12 jerseys, and you know, in a lot of ways, we've put our money where our mouth is, and so there's been a lot in terms of support. There's been a lot in terms of where, hey, let's push each other, you know, to do some really new and incredible things, and you know, whether that be with the WNBA Changemakers, the inaugural program that, of course, Kathy Engelbert, the commissioner, kicked off earlier this season with the signing of their the Players Association. Some really incredible things. Even outside of, call it, the traditional stick and ball sports, you know, for us, we look at things like data to help inform us on places where there are opportunities. And so, you know, for us as a brand of action, it's about where do you find those opportunities? How do you grasp that with both arms? In the area of esports and gaming, for example, which is an area, frankly, that should, you know, in a lot of ways democratize between men and women, given that, you know, your physical, call it, height and other things do not necessarily, you know, that's not the differentiator, right? In gaming and esports, it's more about your, you know, communication skills and your ability to work together as a team. And so for us, there was a stat that we learned about the fact that, you know, even though half of gaming fans are women, less than a quarter of game developers were women. And so for us, it became an opportunity to think about, my gosh, what can we do to give back to this space? So we created a program that we just announced a few weeks ago called AT&T Unlock Games. And that's become a great cornerstone of being able to help support and elevate women game developers, which is underrepresented in that industry, and, you know, supporting that through, call it, not just from a financial support perspective, but also from a mentorship, opportunity, membership, things that we can help bring to the table to elevate women in this space. So it's really a, you know, call it, holistic effort. It's about places where we have an opportunity to help support, and, you know, and of course bringing the best of AT&T to the table to elevate the game.
That word mentorship, that's a word that we like here at ESPNW. You have to pass the baton and bring those young ladies with you. And I just want to point out, Shiz, because you're not going to say this, but I think it's incredible. You did not grow up like many of us did, you know, like Kate and myself and everybody, as a die-hard sports fan that just knew everything about sports, like a geek like I basically was. So the fact that you have taken that extra step for years to figure out what exactly it is that makes the sports world tick, and then bring it into what you do every day. I think it's incredible, and it goes to what you said in your intro. You're not afraid to try new things. If it doesn't work, that's fine. It's a lesson. You get back up and you keep doing it, and you try something a little bit different next time. So I just want to point that out, that you have been quite uncomfortable throughout much of your career, but look what you've done with that. Continue to challenge yourself. So I love you. Monica, at Budweiser, what about the decision-making process that can you share with us? Because obviously huge decisions that affect so much, and a lot of money invested. How do you get to that point where you say, this is what we want to do?
Yeah, so I go back to the whole space and place of reinvention and doing things that might otherwise make other people uncomfortable. You know, Budweiser has been around, again, as I mentioned, for over a century, and has been very much a big part of sports marketing, right? So as you think of many of if you look at old vintage photos of the World Series, when you think of Super Bowl, Budweiser's been there. You know, we have sign making everywhere in every single stadium. So when you think of sports sponsorship, Budweiser has been there in the most traditional sense. And we got to a point in the last few years where we said, okay, we are large, we're everywhere. Everyone knows who Budweiser is, whether or not you've even tried us, right? Everyone has an opinion about us. And we said, we really need to reimagine and reintroduce the role we can play in sports. Otherwise, we'll become wallpaper, right? We'll just become that sign that's sitting in a stadium, which has a role as well. So the big thing for us was, specifically when it comes to women's sports, was I think one of the biggest shifts we made was last year when we really decided to double down on our commitment to the National Women's Soccer League. We had been a long-standing supporter of the U.S. Women's National Team. And when we really thought about it, we said, wow, you know, every 4 years, the world congregates and admires, you know, the women's national team at the World Cup. And so we said, we need to play a role in making sure that the 47 other months in between every one of these, you know, 4 years, that we're helping to grow the sport. So we said, instead of using the power of our scale to really like splatter our name everywhere, really, it was all about how can we act like a supporter, how can we get in the minds of these avid fans and use the power of our scale to get more people to fall in love with the same way these avid sports fans were. And that was a really, you know, new and innovative way for us to think about pivoting the way we do sports marketing. It was very much heart-driven. I would say it was even less numbers and data-driven. It was more heart-driven. We really got into, we switched from calling ourselves a sponsor to a supporter, and that really shifted our mindset, put the consumer at the heart, and you know, out of that came really innovative ways of us partnering with the league. So one of the things we did was we actually brought in six National Women's Soccer League players while they were on their off season into our offices. They interned with us, got an understanding of the role of big brands, big corporations in the future of the leagues, and we also got their diversity of thought to help us build our programs. And so that's like one example of how we really decided to innovate and rethink and reshape the supporter model. And so that's something that has worked very well for us. You know, we're in year 2. There's more to be done, and we're just getting started. It's sort of helped us to reinvent the way we're thinking about sports in general now.
Mm-hmm. You know, I love what you said there, leading with your heart. Not necessarily numbers, and I mean that's going with your gut, and that's risky. That's taking a chance, and that's what we need. That's why we have you on, because you're willing to take those risks when maybe people are looking at you like, really, is that the best business decision? Turns out that it seems to be for what all of you are doing right now. Kate, can you jump on board with this same topic, just the decision-making process to go ahead and invest with some of these partnerships?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's so many consistencies in what everybody's been talking about. I think one of the things for me is I really I got entrenched in women in sports, both as an athlete, but then really as a sports marketer at Visa. And that's where I was able to really see the power of truly a brand coming in and making a difference, and not in the short term. My last year at Visa, heading into the Women's World Cup, we did partnerships with UEFA Women's, with the U.S. Women's National Team, and they weren't short-term partnerships, they were long-term. And a company like Visa, you know, the brand backing the team through marketing efforts, and these women through marketing efforts definitely amplifies kind of the if you see her, you can become her side of, I think, the sponsor's role in sport. But as I transition into Google and really look at what the opportunity is, which is Google, right? Google is not just a brand. We are sports technology. We are technology at its best. And, you know, the user of Google is 5 billion plus people around the world. So from a brand perspective and a sponsorship perspective, that's not necessarily where, you know, that's one component of where I know Google can make an impact in women in sport. And we came on with the NWSL Champions Tournament this summer, which was fantastic. But the other part of that is certainly the media side of it, right? The distribution side of it, the product side of it through discoverability. And I think, you know, today discoverability is a huge part of being able to find the sports you want to watch when you want to watch them. And Google has a significant role to play in that. So that was a really big part of our NWSL partnership, was making sure that fans could find the game when they wanted to watch it, wherever in the country, world they were. You type into that search box, you know, and the teams you want to see, and you'll have that information. But then building on that, you know, I think as we think about the role of innovation, and, you know, I say this, in a lighthearted way, but sponsorships really become a bit of a four-letter word. And certainly for a company like Google, where the value of what our products can bring to the innovation of the game, to the distribution model of the game, and certainly to the discoverability of the game is huge. And so as we talk with, Lisa Baird, the new commissioner of the NWSL, who's a longtime friend of mine, to Kathy, certainly over the WNBA, these are kinds of the things we're trying to solve for as it comes to women in sport, where we think about it not through like a traditional model by any means, but through the lens of how can we actually innovate women's sport for an audience that, is not going to be atypical. And certainly for a regular, typical broadcast and sponsorship model, it's not going to be atypical in order to launch ourselves into success for the long term. And I would just add this, I kind of go back to Title IX in these efforts. Like, I do believe there's a if you build it, they will come mentality. And that's really kind of the approach that, the internal team at Google and I are thinking about this through the lens of how can we kind of just get on board to this if you build it, they will come mentality of we will change the way sports and women in sports is watched if we can take a few big bets in a couple of key areas as we think about the role we can play.
I absolutely love that, and I think we have all seen and experienced probably in many different ways. Give the opportunity, and then look what can happen, and it is our responsibility to continue to continue to build. I want to ask, and we're gonna begin to wrap this up because, as you all know, we have a very long list today, and this has just been the perfect beginning again to set the tone. The word leadership. It's a big word. I know it maybe means different things to different people, though. So I'd like to conclude with each of you giving your definition of leadership and what you take into that every single day with your roles. I read your bios, your titles. I mean, you're so accomplished. But leading is something that I think a lot of people actually aren't good at and actually struggle with. So Monica, no pressure, you get to go first, but you are a proven leader. What has been the key to you?
Yeah, for me, it's really two things. It's one part that pertains to me, and then another part that pertains to my team. And I think the one that pertains to me is it's about fearless vision. I think it's really easy to be afraid, but when you are put in a leadership position, it is your job and your role to uncover white space, and that takes guts, and it takes setting a plan in an area that didn't have one. So I think fearless vision is one part, and then when it comes to the team, I mean, the way I look at it is I am in service to the people that I work with. I'm in service to them. It is not that they follow me. It's that I am there to be their co-pilot. I'm holding the GPS. They're in the driver's seat. So it's all about trusting that I've brought those people on the team because they are and can be better than me. And I'm just there to be along for the ride and give them the tools to move our vision forward. So those are really my two key ingredients when it comes to leadership.
I think it's working. Shiz. Next, what do you think? What is a leader to you?
So leadership to me also has, I'll call it two ingredients since we're on that recipe kick. I think number one is ultimately about inspiration, inspiring your team, inspiring those around you, and inspiring them to do things that are greater than maybe what they could have expected for themselves. Having been through so many different roles, whether that be in the front lines of the company, in a call center, in construction, leading pricing negotiations with some of our biggest clients to kind of where I am today, right? And in the negotiations room with some of the largest leagues and partners. And then having a team that, we got to go and drive things for the brand in a greater way. And then you put into that mix, right, a company that keeps growing, and we have it started as a telecom business, as a wireless business, modern media company, and the connective nature that we have. There is so much that continues to change, and certainly 2020 hasn't been easy on any of us. And so as a leader, it is really imperative, and it's really, you got to keep that focus. You got to keep your team energized and inspired every single day. I think the second part that is as equally as important that I've realized as I've gotten older is really about what are we doing to give back to that next generation. I look across this panel and I'm so honored to be here with y'all, because honestly, this is the type of panel that I would have wanted to see growing up. I would have wanted to see women just like us, coming from all sorts of different backgrounds, being in these roles that we are in today. And I can't help but to think, Kate, I know you mentioned, representation matters, and if you can see her, you can be her. I have a 4-year-old niece that I just absolutely adore, and I want her to know that when she grows up, she can be a CEO, she can be in the boardroom, she can be on that court, she can be at the Olympic, whatever her heart desires, she can do it. So thanks for having me today.
What a great example. What a great auntie you are to your 4-year-old niece. Kate, take it away.
I mean, I've got the chills. The teams I've led, I'm sure that the rowing analogies flow freely from with the teams that I've led, but there's one, and it was a really valuable lesson that I learned in my rowing career about leadership, and it came from when I went from University of Michigan into the Olympic team. So I went from kind of big fish, small pond to little fish, big pond, right? And all of a sudden here I was rowing in the back of the boat, well, the bow seat of the boat, and I asked the coach, I'm so used to being kind of the team captain, playing the role as the stroke seat, which really sets the rhythm for the rest of the boat. And the point he said is, listen, like stroke seat, as you embrace that role in time, is really about getting the best out of the people behind you. It's not about, playing the leadership role in title necessarily. It's in playing leadership role in getting out of the way so that you can get the best out of the team that surrounds you. And so as I've really come up through my career, leadership has been really about hiring people who, are certainly experts in what they do and certainly know more than I do in the space that I'm hiring them to be that expert in. And then it's really just getting out of the way of the work that they are there to get done. And a big part of that is kind of providing a lot of the distractions, like diverting the distractions that would get in the way of that. So that's kind of the rowing analogy for how I think about leadership. It's really setting the rhythm to bring the best out of the people around you in a nutshell. And it's not necessarily owning the spotlight, but just being that constant force. And then the last thing I'll end on that I believe in down to my toes, there's this word around sponsorship versus mentorship in career of women. And I'm a firm believer in sponsorship of women. I think we can mentor all day, every day, and have those coffee chats all day, every day. But what women need as they are coming up is sponsorship. They need women and men at senior levels of organizations to be advocating for them when they're not in the room, when they're not even in the same company. And so for me, I have a number of women in my mind's eye that I am committed to seeing progress throughout their careers. And, I have personally committed myself to them as a sponsor, whether they know it or not. And so I share that with everybody because I do believe in that one fundamentally.
Yes, advocating for girls, that sponsorship, that is key. Getting the best out of your team, inspiration, giving back, serving with teammates, having a fearless vision. By the way, all of you mentioned team. And again, the tie-ins here with sports, it's a beautiful thing, right? But I just wanted to thank you, number one, for taking the time with us today, but for sharing what makes you tick. Your why, pretty much, I think you've given us that. And it is an honor to have spoken with all of you and for you to be sharing this with all of us. Thank you for kicking off the 11th annual ESPNW Summit with all of your secrets and for leading the way. Thank you all. Thank you, ladies.
Thanks, Sage.
Thank you. We'll see you in California next year.
Thanks, Sage.
We hope. Thank you. Look who's coming up, by the way. Wow, Kathy Engelbert, the commissioner of the WNBA. We can't wait to have her on, as well as, hello, Chelsea Clinton. I'll just say that, Chelsea Clinton. And then Foudy. We don't call her Julie Foudy, we just call her Foudy. And those of you who've been at the summit in the past, you know why. And then the beautiful, talented LaChina Robinson leading these conversations. We look forward to that coming up at 4:15 Eastern Time and 4:45 p.m. Eastern Time right here as we keep it going on the summit. Speaking of keeping it going, I have the perfect teammate to do that with. She is a college sports reporter, kind of covers everything in the college ranks, and is also the host of NBA Countdown on ESPN and ABC. Hello, Maria Taylor.
Hello, Sage. It's good to be a part of the ESPNW Summit, and I'm going to be honest, I'm coming from my house. And so if Wi-Fi drops out or we have an issue, it is not the production
I got your
fault.
back.
It's my Wi-Fi, okay? So stay right on the desk and make sure that you're ready just in case something breaks down. Awesome. Well, here today, I'm so happy to be a part of the summit, and we're having a conversation with world-class athletes. Obviously, there's something that we can all learn from an athlete that has not only practiced their sport every single day, but excelled at it at a very elite level. And we have two individuals that I'm so excited to hear more from. I'm going to be honest, they are more talented and definitely smarter than I could ever be because they went to Stanford and Notre Dame. Let's start with Simone Manuel, who's a 4-time Olympic gold medalist. She's got 2 golds. She's got 2 silvers. She's a 14-time NCAA champion, the first African-American woman to win an individual Olympic gold medal in swimming, and currently holds 3 American records. Simone Manuel, how's it going?
It's good. I'm excited to be here and talk with you.
Awesome. Simone is also our Team Toyota athlete for the espnW Summit, and joining us on our panel will be Jewell Loyd. You probably know her name already because she was rocking it out in the Wubble, a 2-time WNBA All-Star, the 2015 Rookie of the Year, 2-time WNBA champion, and also the espnW Player of the Year back during her Notre Dame days. Jewell Loyd, fresh off a championship in the Wubble. Congratulations, Jewell. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Now, the first thing I have to ask you guys, because I don't know how you're dealing with it, is when you have a stoppage of being able to just compete or even practice. That's what happened when COVID went down in March. How did you handle it? How did you guys still find ways to train, to stay elite so that you could be ready at a moment's notice to continue your professional careers? And Simone, let's start with you.
It was tough. I mean, obviously the Olympics was postponed and you trained 4 years plus to reach that goal, but knowing that I wasn't the only one going through it helped a lot. But beyond that, I was lucky enough to get into a backyard pool and continue training. And then obviously I couldn't go to a weight room, so I made the best usage out of my apartment. But for me, it really was about staying the course. That's all I could do. I took it day by day and continued to keep my training as a priority. I know that I want to swim beyond 2021 and 2020 if the Olympics were going to happen this year. And so my goal hasn't changed. I still want to go to the Olympics and win more medals, compete at world championships for the next coming years. So I just kept my goals at the forefront. It's difficult. Mentally, it's been hard to always kind of take it day by day and keep your perspectives up, but that's the best I can do. And I feel like it's working, and we're all going through it. We're all trying to stay encouraged, and I'm taking it day by day.
Jewell?
Yeah. For me, I was overseas. If people don't know, we play year round. So I was overseas, and we're about to start our and going to playoffs. So everything kind of shut down. I come back to the States and trying to figure out what's next. I think a lot of us didn't know what was going on. We didn't know if season was going to start, if the W was going to start or not. But for me, I think it's almost weird not to be doing anything and always kind of just, I'll just wait and find out what happens. I think for me and how I was raised is always to stay ready and be ready. So I ordered a tonal, I ordered all this equipment to my house and a bike and everything to kind of maintain my conditioning and just try to stay focused and understand that regardless of what happens, I will be ready. I know that I'm putting a lot of work and time and try to just, go with the flow. And like, was said before, having people and our teammates kind of do the same thing. You didn't feel alone. You felt like we're still able to do things, and you knew that, your teammates and other competitors were doing the same. So we kind of had a small community of people that are trying to stay focused together.
I'm not going to lie. I would probably buy a workout plan that was made by Jewell Loyd and Simone Manuel if y'all just got together and made one. I'm just saying it could be a whole thing that we could run, and we could start it with the espnW Summit. Let's have a conversation about when you guys kind of knew that your potential was slightly higher than maybe some of your peers, because there has to be a moment where an elite athlete realizes, or someone might have a conversation with you, that you got what it takes to go all the way. And then what did you do, in the following months, the years, to make sure that you were holding up to that potential, Jewell, once you figured out, what you were capable of?
Yeah, I think, I started playing sports because I just loved it, playing with my friends, and it was just fun. And then realizing that when I got in high school, I got letters from colleges, like from the moment I got in my freshman year. And
honestly, I would get these letters and I would look at them and give them to my parents. I didn't know what to do. I didn't really look too deep into it, but I just would get the letter, give it to my parents, and then go play and go practice. And so for me, it was, I never wanted to lose that kid-like feel of playing the game and losing that, getting so caught up in, oh, I'm ranked this high, or I have this many letters, and getting so arrogant. I wanted to still have that feel of fun. And so, once I got to that moment and I was like, well, things are coming in, my parents are talking, and my mom, if you know my mom, she's very, she's proud of her kids. So she's constantly talking. And so for me, it was understanding, well, I have a decision to make. Do I buy into this, or do I just kind of let it go? And I could see myself playing at the next level, and not just playing in college, but playing in the W. And so I fully committed, and I stayed humbled and stayed true to my circle and allowed them to do all the nonsense of talking and bragging and things like that, and me just staying fun and staying in the moment.
If y'all haven't seen Jewell Loyd's mom have fun in pros or dance, then you have to log on to Twitter. You got to get on Instagram. You got to find mom, okay? She is a reason for you to get excited every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of the week.
Right.
Oh, wait, there she is. Hey, mom.
Yeah. Yep, that's
Jewell,
my mom.
What's your reaction when you see these videos?
Honestly, this is my whole childhood. Waking up in the morning, her doing this, going to sleep. So this is normal for me. So for everyone else, this is my life. And welcome to the Loyd family.
We're more than happy to be there. Simone, for you, I feel like life is a little bit different because you play an individual sport. So in a lot of ways, you have to be very careful with how you are protecting your mentals and how you're preparing for your meets. And how do you go about that? How do you adjust, especially during the times that we're in right now, making sure you're staying mindful and prepared to compete?
For me, it really is just keeping my goals at the forefront. I think I've always been a goal-oriented person, and so I've tried to keep time goals at a forefront, performance goals in practice, obviously the Olympic goal in the forefront. But I go to practice every day with devoted women at Stanford University and amazing coaches who continue to push us and encourage us to be our very best. And so when you're reaching for goals, even though those may be individual, you're doing it in a team atmosphere. And I wouldn't be where I am without my teammates or my coaches. And so it makes the journey that much more enjoyable, and they really aid in my success.
Yeah, I'm sure whenever you can sprinkle in like my Stanford teammates in there, you guys can lift each other up. That's a great humble brag to have. It's like me and my Stanford teammates and coaches, we were just out here. Jewell, take me into the wobble.
Championship.
Yeah, exactly. 14. She is a 14-time NCAA champion. I need you to not forget that. Jewell, I want to go inside the bubble with you. When you found out that everyone was going to Bradenton, Florida, what was your reaction? And then how did the reality match maybe the expectations that you had for that?
Like I said before, being an athlete, being in the W, we play year round. So we're here for 4 to 5 months, and then we go overseas and we play in different countries, and we had to adapt on the fly. A lot of times we're only the American. Like when I went to China, I was the only American on my team. I didn't speak the language or anything. So we know how to adapt pretty quickly. And so knowing that we were going to go to a new environment and something that's never been done before, I think we all kind of were like, well, it's just kind of like going overseas, pack our bags and let's brace what's coming. And so we knew that was, we're all in it, and we know how to adapt, and we knew that we're going down there for a bigger purpose than just basketball. So be down there and having, your teammates, and luckily in Seattle, we're a family, so we get along really well. So it wasn't any drama on our end, but just knowing that we're down there with the good people and we're there for a bigger cause than just basketball.
You talk about that bigger cause, Jewell, and explain to everyone what the bigger purpose was. What, as a WNBA community, you guys decided you were going down to the Wobble to play for?
So we dedicated our season to say her name and Breonna Taylor. And it was something that we needed to do, and we knew that it was right to do. And the W has always been in the front for everything. We always been in front of making sure that we know what we're doing, and we're doing it together. We know we're standing up for what's right and what we believe in. And our league is 80%, Black. And so we understand, if this could be any of us. It could be our family. It could be me. It could be my mother. And so that's the senses of the whole league. And so we went down there to make sure we educate ourselves, educating our followers, educating anyone who really wanted to listen. And I think we did an outstanding job of doing that this season.
Yeah, I've always said that the WNBA has found a way to be at the forefront of everything, of all athletes, and you guys just seem to come together and it's very cohesive. Simone, for you, you're historical in a lot of ways. I have a younger sister that she always loved to swim, and she never saw a Black girl in the pool, and you became that Black woman in the pool that was the first African-American woman to win a gold medalist, an individual Olympic gold medalist for swimming. So explain what it was like for you growing up being one of the only, and how it's been responding to being that role model, kind of stepping into that trailblazing role.
Yeah, I mean, I shouldn't say the only, I'm one of few. The percentage of Black people in the sport of swimming is 1%, so it's very low. A lot of us know each other, but it's difficult. You face experiences where you feel left out. I think personally, I didn't know if swimming was the sport for me simply because I didn't see much representation in the sport. I was like, well, maybe I should do basketball. Maybe I should do volleyball. I can have friends that can kind of relate to me and my culture. And that was really difficult for me. And I faced that also from the Black community. I've been out and I've told people, you know, they see you and they see that you're an athlete and they ask you, oh, what sport do you play? And I'll say I swim. And I've had people laugh at me in my face. And it's really difficult to defend something that you love, something that you're good at, and something that you're passionate about. So from a young age, I did feel out of place, but also I sometimes doubted if swimming was the sport for me. I had a great support system who encouraged me to follow my passion and pursue the goals that I had for myself, and that was in the sport of swimming. And I've been able to achieve amazing accomplishments for a Black person in the sport of swimming, but also as an American swimmer. And I think it's awesome that I've been able to be that representative for people, hopefully for them to believe that they can be good at swimming. They can be good at whatever they want to be good in. It doesn't need to be defined by the stereotype or the assumptions that others place on you. And I hope that my journey and what I've accomplished has hopefully inspired others to believe that they can achieve what others deem as the impossible.
Jewell, what's your reaction to hearing Simone's story?
It's amazing. It's amazing for so many different reasons, not just because of her winning and her goals. It's because it's her story. It's heartfelt and it's factual. You know, we're young, and you know, for me, I look back and I look at my niece and nephew, and I know that, you know, they're looking up to us, and it's pretty cool to know that we're changing the views of, you know, this world, and we're doing good, and we're passionate about what we're doing, and we know that we're doing it for the right reasons, and we hope that, you know, as long as our careers are going, that we're inspiring people to be us. So thank you. It's an honor to be here with you guys.
Thank you.
You guys have done so many things across the board, worked with so many passion projects. I know for you, Simone, the I Promise School with LeBron James, I know that you also work with More Than a Vote. You put inclusion writers in some of your contracts when you're working with TYR. Like, you've really done some things above and beyond the call of duty. I want both of you guys to go through what you're doing community-based that you just want to let everyone know about, or what your passion projects are right now. Simone, we can start with you.
Yeah, so currently I have a partnership with I Promise School that's kind of on hold, obviously, with COVID, but we provide swim lessons for the children at the school. I can't remember the percentage of children who had never swam. I think it's above 85% of the children at the school had never learned how to swim. So that was amazing for me to be able to do that with Akron Area YMCA and the USA Swimming Foundation, as well as I Promise School. Also working with More Than a Vote, trying to get people to vote in Texas as a fellow Texan. I also have the inclusion writer with here, and so it's obviously providing meaningful opportunities for underrepresented communities or groups of people who are qualified. And so I really advocate for Black models or a Black hairstylist to be able to do my hair and makeup, just to bring qualified minority groups into a space where they typically are excluded. And so that's something that's really important to me. I know that I have more to do in that area and trying to find ways to include more people, but it's a start and it's something that I'm really proud of.
Jewell?
Yeah, the moment I got drafted into the league, I told my brother everything that I get, I want to give back because, that's how I'm here. People gave back to me and allow me to be where I'm at. So from the start, this is going on 6 years now. I've been mentoring and basically sponsoring teams across the country and even abroad with, finding kids that are underprivileged in areas that they can't afford to play at the, AAU travel basketball or just gear, things like that. And I've given out my personal number. I have a number that people can text in and basically just giving them time because working with Kobe and the things that he taught me was always, he gave me his time. And so if I could do that and be an access to many people and anyone and change their mindset and help them achieve their dreams, that's something that I want to do. And I have a foundation and we've been working in Chicago for the last couple of years. And we've working with actually, I'm good friends with Kyrie. So we're doing a lot of things and just giving back and doing things overseas in Africa and educating and helping kids understand that they can have a dream and we're going to help you achieve that. And I had a dream and people will help me achieve that. And I want to give that back constantly. And we're doing a lot of things and we want to make sure that people can see, us in big and important spaces like CEOs, like gold medalists, like world champions, and know that they can achieve those goals because they had help. And that's kind of what I want to do. And I've always been passionate about that. And I'm very humbled to be in a position to give back and know that we're changing lives.
You bring up the role model that Kobe Bryant was to you, and you guys are role models in your own right. What is some of the best advice maybe that you've received on the journey that you've been on? Because you both made it to the mountaintop in sports in a lot of ways. So let's talk about how you got there and the people that you've looked up to along the way. Jewell, we'll start with you.
Kobe was one of the first people who ever believed in me. I've said that multiple times, and before I even had Nike deals or even left college, he was the first one who gave me a dream and was with me the whole time. And so the thing that he always talked about and something that he wrote to me was to create forever and be epic. And I constantly say that to myself. I have it tattooed on me as well to understand that it was more than just trying to win games. It's how can we pass down knowledge? How can we pass down just the wisdom that we learned through our lives. And that's something that Kobe did with me every single day, every single year. And so I try to do that consistently. And it's easy, when you're going through it to just, get down on yourself and just look and say, hey, I just want to play for this. I want to play for championships. I think, as I went through this year, it's understanding the why, understanding that life is precious, life's a gift. And every day you have a chance to do something great, and understanding that you're made for a reason. You have a purpose, you have a plan, you have a goal, and you're unique, and there's no one else like you. And so embracing that and understanding that you're special to this world, and you have a gift, and you have a purpose, and that's something that I try to remember and tell myself, regardless if it's basketball related or off the court related, is that I have a purpose, and if my goal is to wake up every day and make someone smile, that's what I'm going to do.
I love that. Simone, how about you?
So mine is very personal, but my club coach used to always tell me, just be Simone and have fun. And those two pieces of advice, I think, really resonate with me, just because I think it's really important for me to just be Simone, really, advocate for myself, do the things that I'm passionate about, but have fun doing it. And obviously competing and going out and winning is fun for me. Swimming is fun for me, but being Simone, letting my personality shine through, letting my values and what's important to me shine through, and hopefully touch the lives of others is, I think, the best way that I can live my life is being unapologetically me. And it's a piece of advice that I live by every single day.
I'm going to take that. Just be Maria, just be Jewell, just be Simone, just be yourself each and every day, because everybody else is taken. I love that kind of advice. Simone, just being you turned into the moment and the picture that we've all seen where you look up at the board and your hands over your mouth and you're, oh my God. I just want to go back to that moment, that shock and that surprise, and even just the days after, what it felt like.
So in that moment, I think I just was proud to win a medal. My goal going into that race was to win a medal of any color. And I'm so glad it was gold. I'm not complaining about that at all. That year for me was very difficult. Obviously, I was trying to make the Olympic team, but unexpectedly, before that year really started, I was dealing with some health issues and some injuries. And then I also redshirted from Stanford and took a quarter off from school. So I made a lot of sacrifices to reach that goal. And so kind of to have the injuries and the illnesses was something that was really difficult for me to deal with. And so to see the culmination of all my hard work and sacrifices kind of appear in that moment was really special for me. And then on top of that, to know that I had made history was just icing on top of the cake. I think for me, when I'm going for success, I'm not going for breaking barriers. I think I'm always looking forward to just being the best possible swimmer I can be, and everything else just kind of falls into place. And so it was a moment that I'll always cherish and is really special for me. The moments after that, I kind of had to get back down to business. I couldn't celebrate for too long because I had several other races to participate in. Ended up winning silver in the 50 free, and then also winning gold in the 4x100 medley relay. So it was really important for me to kind of put that 100 free on the back burner, not celebrate too much, and get back down to work.
Yeah, well, mention it again, four-time Olympic medalist. You know, that's what world-class athletes, that's who we're talking to right now. Jewell, what about the moment when you become a WNBA champion for the second time in 2020 in the Wubble? Moments like that, how do you describe them?
You know, I've been asked that ever since we left the bubble is, you know, how do you feel? And I don't think it's fully hit me yet because of everything we had to do to get to the bubble and everything that this team had to, you know, go through. If you look at our team, you know, we lost Stewie, you know, last year. Sue was out, and, you know, we had a different look of the team, and we were, you know, we expected to go back to back and win. And so coming to this season, it felt like we were here for a bigger purpose. And for me personally, going into the season, having a different why, you know, obviously losing Kobe and Gigi early, dealing with grief for the first time, going down to the bubble and playing for Sarah Name and Breonna Taylor, you know, just everything that you had to put in and the focus you had to have this season to come up on top. I wouldn't have wanted to do this with any other team, any other organization. And I think this was just a big deal for me personally, because I know that I was playing for Kobe, I was playing for Gigi, and for, you know, obviously for Breonna Taylor. And every time I looked at my jersey, it was 24, and right underneath it was her name. So I was constantly reminded my why, and that really helped me, you know, push through the season.
Yeah, it was incredible to watch, honestly. We would be, you know, getting ready for NBA Countdown. Me and Paul Pierce were sitting down watching like Jewell and Sue, and we're watching the WNBA right before our show. And oh, by the way, the ratings were up for the WNBA. Everything that you guys did and were able to pull together was certainly incredible. Before we go, I want to get from all of, or both of you guys, what is the key to greatness? I mean, you have both reached levels of greatness that people can really only dream of, that young kids are at home hoping to reach one day. If you could give them advice, if you could give your younger self advice, what would that look like? Simone?
I think to achieve greatness, it requires sacrifice, and I think it requires humility. I think as an athlete, you have to, or any other area of life, you have to sacrifice things or relationships or whatever it may be to be your best self. I know as an athlete, I've had to kind of not have some nights out, or, you know, I didn't want to go to school dances because I wanted to go to swim practice. You kind of have to sacrifice specific meals. And so you have to find ways to get that extra edge that other people may not be willing to sacrifice for. And I think beyond that, you have to have a level of humility. You have to be coachable, and you have to not be complacent. I think I'm always looking for what's next, what's one way that I can continue to get better and improve. And when you always find another step in the ladder to go up on, then I think that your potential is limitless.
Jewell?
Yeah, I would say love yourself completely and wholly, and understand that the person you are today is not the person you will become. You're constantly evolving, and give yourself grace and enjoy the process. That's the beauty about being a human. That's the beauty about this world, that you're constantly growing. And so you have to understand that that all comes from just loving yourself and embracing who you are.
I love all of that. My big takeaways from this, guys, giving yourself grace, loving yourself, be you. Simone, you said that. Know your why. Jewell, you said that. And obviously just continue to strive for greatness. You two are great shining examples and role models of exactly what it means to be a world-class athlete. But not only that, you guys are world-class people. So I thank you for the example that you set, that you're going to continue to set. And I hope that people continue to look up to you guys, because you're the type of people we should be striving to be in this moment. Thank you so much for joining us at the ESPNW Summit. Jewell Loyd, Simone, Manuel, you guys are amazing. Keep it up, because we'll all be watching.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Sage, take it away. I think we made it through without too many hiccups, right?
I know.
Okay?
I saw a freeze there for a second. I'm like, you're almost done, Maria. Keep going, keep going. I have to tell you, thank you for such an awesome conversation. It's pretty humbling, isn't it, to listen to the wisdom that those young ladies have at such a young age. They're so accomplished, and just for their vision of the world, this world in particular, it was awesome. So thank you.
It's incredible.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll see you soon. Get off before your Wi-Fi goes. Thank you, Maria.
I know. Bye, girl.
Still to come, so much more here from the 11th Annual ESPNW Women in Sports Summit, and including Spurs star DeMar DeRozan. He is a star. He's a four-time All-Star. He joins us to talk about something, though, that's so important and so personal. It's mental health. Look at what he posted on Twitter just a little bit ago on World Mental Health Day. I'll just read it real quick before we take our break, because it's so special. It took me to be 27 years old when I shared my story to accept being okay with being vulnerable. It gave me a sense of confidence and empowerment that I never thought would be there. DeMar DeRozan, thank you. We cannot wait to hear from DeMar, as well as several other amazing, courageous athletes when the summit continues.
You're watching the ESPNW Women in Sports Summit, presented by Toyota. Welcome back to the ESPNW Women in Sports Summit, presented by Toyota.
I know that voice. That's my friend Sarah Spain, who is joining us live from Chicago in just a couple minutes. I'm Sage Steele. We're in the ESPN studios in Bristol, Connecticut, just getting going with the 11th annual ESPNW Women in Sports Summit. Real quick, this is a tease. I'm a little bit envious because I can't be in my workout clothes, but I'm trying to do TV here, but I'm hoping that all of you at home, at work, watching are in your workout clothes because we have something awesome coming your way. The Summit Sweat Session presented by Gatorade. If you've been to summits in the past, you know what we do. You know how we roll. New York Road Runners, surfing, yoga, all kinds of boot camps. We have arguably the most famous, best trainer in the world joining us. He is, you know him, I don't even have to give him an intro. It's Gunnar Peterson. He's joining us in about, what time is it? 5:25 Eastern time is what time? For about 15 minutes. So get your workout clothes on if they're not already. And remember, keep going with the hashtag on Twitter, on Instagram. Show us your workouts while you're working out with Gunnar. Got it? Thank you. Up next, another teammate is joining me here in studio because they know that I'd be lonely without friends here with me on set. This title, I must read.
Oh boy.
It's pretty impressive. She is the Senior Vice President of Multi-Platform Storytelling and Journalism. And we edited that down, actually, Allison Overholt. Good to have you here. First, by the way, Allison's first time here on our Bristol campus in 7 months as well.
Since March.
Yeah.
It is wild.
Welcome back.
It feels good and crazy all at the same time.
Thank you for being here. The floor is yours.
It's incredible to be here with all of you today. I miss seeing everybody in person on the lawn at Dana Point. But I have to say it's a special thing to know how many of you W's can join us here in this virtual format. So for that, I am profoundly grateful. As Sage mentioned, I'm Allison Overholt. I lead our multi-platform storytelling and journalism teams, which includes the incredible ESPNW editorial team led by Jenna Janovi, Erica Goodman-Huey, Susie Arth, and Charlotte Gibson. So both our ESPNW sports coverage teams and our storytelling group take great joy and great pride in chronicling the achievements of women in sports. And we saw triumphs and achievements galore all throughout this pandemic year, from the NWSL being the first professional sports league to restart and host a successful tournament this summer, to the WNBA in their Orlando bubble, leading to an incredible final series featuring Sue Bird's 4th championship win with the Seattle Storm. We also know, as you do all as well, that there is no triumph without the digging deep that comes before it. Our highest highs often coexist with incredibly challenging and painful lows. And our sports heroes' biggest wins are the result of both physical challenges of athletic achievement and also the dedicated efforts that they make to live with and manage through equally daunting mental and emotional challenges. This pandemic has put all of our resiliency and all of our reserve to the test. So while we're thrilled to be bringing this dose of ESPNW Women in Sports Summit inspiration to all of you today and tomorrow, we're equally proud to host the upcoming panel on mental health featuring 3 really tremendous athletes who are here to share their stories. This conversation and these stories are the kind that you can find consistently on ESPNW because we believe that sharing stories of athletes we admire who are grappling with and overcoming the same kinds of challenges that we can all relate to is a crucial part of normalizing conversations around mental health in our society. So back in March, for example, we anchored our Women's History Month coverage with a feature on Chanel Miller, who had recently gone public on being the Emily Doe from the 2016 Brock Turner sexual assault case. Staff writer Aishwarya Kumar wrote on Miller's journey from anonymous sexual assault victim to public survivor and activist who's helped propel the Me Too movement forward. Now in April, senior writer Allison Glock wrote a powerful personal essay on how the coronavirus pandemic had made us, quote, fear our physicality and the proximity of our friends, and how in turn she learned how to build connection and community through a virtual dance class. In late June, in partnership with ESPN Films, associate editor Charlotte Gibson produced an As Told To with Donna Kipp, a fighter for the Blackfeet Boxing Club, which trains Native girls and women in self-defense in response to the epidemic of missing Indigenous women. A couple of weeks ago, our newest teammate, Dana Lee, profiled Trudy Lamb, a high school runner who shared what it felt like to carry the weight of wearing the name Robert E. Lee on her jersey. He was the namesake of her school. And also this fall, elite runner Molly Seidel shared her journey of recovery with ESPNW's Charlotte Gibson from anxiety, depression, and disordered eating. And we are so grateful that Molly is here today as part of our panel. So without further ado, and with thanks from all of us to all of you for engaging in this incredibly important conversation, let me turn things over to the one and only Sarah Spain, host of our mental health panel. Hey, Sarah.
Thank you so much, Allison. What a great representation of the stories that we've been telling recently. And as I welcome on the next three people, I just want to reiterate how thankful we are that they're here to share their stories and their bravery. I saw DeMar DeRozan posted on Twitter that he was going to be in this panel today, and one of the first comments was someone saying, "You don't realize how much good you're doing." And I think that's something to be remembered throughout this conversation. There's a great Mr. Rogers quote: "Anything that's human is mentionable, and anything that is mentionable can be more manageable. When we talk about our feelings, they become less overwhelming, less upsetting, and less scary." So these three superstar, powerful people leading a path and creating a place for others to be themselves and to have permission to talk about their own mental health is beyond all of their accomplishments on the field, on the racetrack, and on the court. So, and on the ice. Welcome to you three. So great to see you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I want you guys to introduce yourselves, which is my favorite thing to do in a panel, because I love to hear people brag on their own greatness, and also because I'm going to make sure to comment if you leave out any of the good stuff. DeMar, let's start with you. Tell us just a little bit about yourself.
Don't usually ladies go first? You want me to go first?
Well, wow, okay. I love that we've got a man at the summit, and he is leading with manners. So let's start with Gracie then on the other end.
Hi, I'm definitely overexposed on this camera, but it's so
it's
lovely to be here.
It's a halo.
It's something. That's what it is. It's so wonderful to be here, and I'm so excited to be on this panel. This other wonderful woman and man, a gentleman. Thank you for letting us go first, I guess.
Yeah, so Gracie, obviously Olympic medalist figure skater, two-time national champion, and one of the faces of figure skating in the U.S. for years, a superstar. I'm so happy that you're here. Molly, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Molly Seidel. I'm a professional runner for Saucony, and as recently just qualified for my first Olympic team. And excited to be here to talk with these guys. Really pumped.
I love the humility. Very first marathon ever she qualifies for the Olympic team. And then you just ran your second marathon ever and the 9th fastest American woman ever in just your second try. Unbelievable. And almost unprecedented 4 individual national championships at Notre Dame. I love how you're rocking the hat, making sure everybody knows who you rep. DeMar, how about you?
I'm DeMar DeRozan. I play for the San Antonio Spurs. Some would say I'm all right in basketball. I'm just happy to be here, be able to share my story, and definitely listen to these ladies and have read all their stories. Has been so inspirational to me. So, I'm really a fan sitting here, being a part of this right now.
Yeah, 4-time All-Star and Olympic gold medalist. I would say people would definitely say you're pretty all right at basketball. Not too bad. Let's talk about why we're all here. This mental health conversation, I'm so grateful, has been something over the last couple years that we've talked about so much more publicly, and especially in the sports world. And DeMar, I remember very notably when you posted on social media about struggles with depression and sort of came to the forefront with it. But before you were willing to go public and talk about it, do you remember when you were first able to sort of put a name to and understand the mental health challenges you were facing?
No, it took a while. It wasn't till I was older, till I gained the knowledge and understanding. A lot of my ways came from a lot of dark times in my life that I kind of swept under the rug, that I never paid attention to or even cared to even address. At times I used to wonder why I was so unhappy, why I was so frustrated, why I was mad at the world when it was no one else's fault. It was just a lot of things that I kind of suppressed by playing sports and putting my all into sports. And, it kind of led me down a road to never address a lot of personal issues that I was going through, you know, and it wasn't until when I hit a wall and I really had to reevaluate myself in a different light to understand what I was really was going through.
Yeah. Molly, was there a moment for you when you could sort of identify it?
No, I think I've known for a long time, kind of what it was, or that I dealt with things that maybe other people weren't dealing with. When I was younger, I really struggled with a lot of obsessive compulsive behaviors, and anxiety, and my family helped me manage it pretty well. But yeah, I almost kind of fell into running and doing the sport that I do because it was a really good way of kind of just making my brain work correctly. I felt like sometimes the only time my brain really fit inside my body was when I was running. And I think I'm really lucky in that I found a sport that really supports my mental health. But yeah, it's something that I was lucky enough when I was younger to learn kind of what I had and be diagnosed with OCD, and then be able to work with therapists since then.
Yeah, it's fascinating how sometimes sports can be this great escape, and sometimes it can actually help us hide from really digging into the things that we need to figure out. Gracie, how about you?
Well, when I probably finally accepted like my diagnosis, you know, that I was just severely depressed, and then with my disordered eating was probably when I checked into treatment and my therapist was like, we have some issues to work through here. And I was like, no, I'm just quirky. Like, I'm just different. Like, I just have some strange behaviors. And obviously being in a sport like figure skating, disordered eating almost goes with the territory, because you are judged on not just what you do, but how you look while you're doing it. Like, if anyone pictures a figure skater in their head, there's a certain aesthetic to it that just goes along with it. But it took a while for me to accept the severity of it. And yeah, just kept kind of brushing it under the rug, just dove more and more into skating, more and more into training, because that's something that always made me feel better. But it ended up in kind of a burnout situation where I'd brushed so many things under the rug for so long that they piled up.
Do you think it was a lack of knowledge or understanding, or do you think it was more a desire to not acknowledge the truth that kept you from really saying this is this out loud, and from trying to pin it as sort of being quirky instead of something diagnosable?
That's a great question. I think it's both. I ran into what I call toxic positivity a lot, where it's no, like, everything's fine. It's all going to be okay. No, that's not real. Like, this is what is, in a way that I think a lot of times it came from a good place, but in reality, it just kind of added to the sense of, I mean, it invalidated what I kind of felt was going on. Because at one point, even I was like, oh, this seems bad. But everyone around me was like, no, it's fine. Or even worse, when any kind of mental illness manifests differently than advertised. So, like, everyone understands depression if it's after a really severe trauma, if it's crying, if it's things like that. But if it's bouts of irritability, angry outbursts, it almost looks like you're just being lazy, when in fact it just feels like the world is crushing you, and like that's why you can't get out of bed and do anything. So I kind of ran into some issues there, and of course it really hit its peak kind of going into the 2018 Olympic season. So I think everyone just kind of wanted it to be okay, when in fact it really hadn't been okay for a long time.
Yeah, the timing of your sport and participating at the biggest and highest level only every 4 years means that people might be wanting to encourage you to push through something that needs to actually be addressed. Can you talk about sort of that low moment for you? I think one of the quotes you said about it was sort of everything in your life lit on fire at once.
Yeah, that's kind of, I guess, how I felt about it. Is I just looked around and I was like, what's good? Nothing was. I was living in Detroit, and like, I covered all the mirrors because I didn't want to look at myself. I was out of shape. And not just for my sport is that bad news, but I didn't like how I looked and how I felt. I wasn't leaving my apartment really, and it was only to kind of show face at the rink. If I made it into the rink that day, I was a shut-in. I didn't talk to people, and if I did, I don't think it was a very pleasant interaction for them. And yeah, it just was kind of a dumpster fire. It was, yeah, like I said, just brushing all those things under the rug for so many years, and they just accumulated. And by the time I kind of knew what was going on, I had a way bigger pile of stuff to deal with than I thought.
Yeah. Molly, how about you? Was there a low point that you remember?
Yeah, I would say it probably manifested right at the end of college, going into the 2016 Olympic trials. That was kind of my rock bottom moment. And kind of to back up Gracie on what she's saying, just being in a sport that so heavily promotes a certain body type, specifically a very thin, the code word in running is like fit. You look so fit. And for me, that was when I was at my absolute bottom weight. People just kept telling me, you look so fit, you look so ready to run fast. And it's this messaging that you're getting back constantly. And you're like, what I'm doing is right, even though my family and the people who were really close to me and my closest friends are like, you're not healthy. My low point was at the 2016 trials when one of my best friends sat me down on a bed and just basically told me, you look like you're dying. You're not healthy. You need to get help. And that was when I realized, like, okay, like I can't do this anymore. I've gone off the deep end. And that was my impetus to go into eating disorder treatment. But yeah, I think it's really hard when you're hearing so many different things from so many places. And I think it takes a really strong support network. At least it did for me. It wasn't something that I would ever going to be able to get out of on my own. I needed my friends and family around me to help me kind of see how far I'd gone and to help me come back from it.
There's such an incredible fine line in both figure skating and racing between the optimal weight and strength and all of that to perform, but still being fueled enough to be a top-level athlete. And to your point, yeah, so much of that messaging from people can be well-intentioned, but actually be reinforcing negative behaviors and bad behaviors. DeMar, in basketball, very different, right? Of course you have to be fit and of course you have to be in shape, but it's this focus on toughness, right? And so especially as a black man in a sport like the NBA, how difficult was it for you at that low point to acknowledge and accept that you wanted, help?
It's definitely tough, just like Molly and Gracie said, it's like, you have a streak of, you have a week of great games, and you being praised. Everybody's saying something good to you, how you scored this many points, how you won a game, how you hit this tough shot. And a lot of times, for me, that 2.5 hours is my escape from reality. But as soon as you walk away from it, every positive thing that you hear kind of hurts because you're really suffering from something that you feel like you can't say out loud. You don't want to express to nobody. You don't want to seem like you're making some type of excuse. You find any reason not to say something, but you hear so many positive things, and they can even go the other way. When you're having a bad week of playing, going to work, and you're getting looked at and not looked at as a human, but looked at as a basketball player. And it kind of shelters you even more because it's like, now I really can't say nothing. So it's tough. It was extremely tough. And it took a lot out of me to build up that confidence within myself of understanding, like, before all this, I'm a man, and I know the obstacles and everything that I've been through as a person in my life that got me to this point. I should not let my truth or what I feel, discredit me when it comes to playing basketball. And a lot of guys struggle with that, get in a place of not want to say nothing because, this is just, we're a man, we're not supposed to say nothing. This shows weakness, vulnerability. I'm not going to say nothing. I'm going to just suffer in silence while I get all this attention or while I get all this criticism. And it kind of puts you just in a deeper and darker place that at times it's even harder to get out of. But I've learned being able to speak about it kind of lifts more than weight off your shoulders, off your spirit, off your heart, to be able to keep pushing even more.
Yeah, we talk so much, especially in our ESPNW spaces, about allowing girls to be whatever they dream of and reinforcing the idea that the stereotypes applied to women and girls don't matter. But we don't do that as much with boys. We still are really restrictive of them expressing their feelings, talking about things that when they need help. And so when you offer that up, you really pave the way for other men to speak about it. Do you remember what it felt like when you decided that you wanted to go public, and how did you decide?
Honestly, it was my own selfish, impulsive reaction that I took to Twitter one day, and if I sit up here and say, I planned on doing this was going to help, I'd be lying. It was just one of those moments where I just hit a wall, and I went to Twitter, and I woke up the next day to a whole bunch of mess that I didn't expect to have. But from there, I just told myself, well, this is what I'm dealing with. Ever since then, I just decided to speak my truth, speak my feelings, speak what I've been through, and to see the outpour of positivity from people, of me giving a helping hand in a moment where I had no clue that I was going to be able to help so many people. It made me feel even better. It made me kind of upset at myself, like, damn, why I could have been said something if this was the case, because this is my true feelings. But I never was looking for no attention. I kind of just hit my wall. I kind of hit my lowest point for screaming out for help in silence, and I finally screamed out to Twitter, and it turned out to be a positive reaction, and I'm glad I did it.
Yeah, this quote from you is remarkable. It took me to be 27 years old when I shared my story to accept being okay with being vulnerable. It gave me a sense of confidence and empowerment that I never thought would be there. It's remarkable, right? At this moment of most vulnerability, it actually turns you into more powerful, more confident, more sure of yourself, because you're able to speak openly about what you're going through. That's such a lesson to other people too, who are considering whether they should ask for help and be honest, and that freedom of finally of letting it all out. Molly, I know when you decided to go public and talk about some of your challenges, you were concerned you'd get pigeonholed. All the stories would then be about the runner who has OCD or disordered eating. Can you take me through some of what you were feeling as you decided to go public?
Yeah, I think originally it wasn't any sort of long thought out thing of going public. It was just me going on a friend's podcast, and she'd actually been someone who was very close to me, helping me through a lot of really difficult times. And we kind of just got talking, and I found kind of in the moment that I was finally ready to talk about it. And afterwards, it was kind of like this little bit of a flood of things. And then especially after making the Olympic team, then people were really fascinated, because I think it's definitely not necessarily the norm in running to find someone who struggles with eating disorder and then comes back. It's highly prevalent in the sport, but I think I'm kind of an exception to the rule on that one. So I hope at the very least that my story can maybe help people who are struggling and going through it, and know, like, okay, if you can get this under control, you can come back. This doesn't have to be a death sentence for your career. But yeah, truthfully, I still kind of struggle with that. I think a lot of people just want to classify it as one story, or classify it as, okay, your story's done now, you've overcome it, you never have to deal with this again, happy ending, tie a bow on it, and it's never going to be like that. So yeah, I think it's little by little changing perceptions about this, and I'm sure Gracie can speak to it as well. Eating disorders are incredibly insidious. They can come back in many ways, and many of us will deal with it for the rest of our lives. It's mostly, how do you manage it? How do you live with it? How do you move forward with the techniques that you've developed to be able to work with it?
Yeah. Gracie, I thought it was so fascinating to hear, especially when you were coming up, people would call you Grace Kelley, the Grace Kelley of figure skating, because of your beauty and your poise, and the name, of course. You had no connection to Grace Kelley. You're way too young to really have a connection to Grace Kelley, but you heard it so many times that you thought to yourself, I like this idea. I like the idea of representing this thing. And that probably stood in your way a lot, the idea of who you wanted to be versus who you were, and expressing your true self. Did that come into play when you decided to talk about this?
So when I first decided to talk about it, it was more that I kind of needed to explain when I went into the treatment facility, I dipped off the face of the earth for 45 days. And then a little bit after, I just popped up in Arizona to coach, and I just withdrew from a bunch of events, and the whole skating world was like, what is going on here? So I just to kind of explain, like, hey, went to a treatment facility for all of these issues, but it did seem off brands because, yes, I was born with a stage name, Gracie Gold, the Olympic figure skater. It's just, that's what that is. And yeah, Grace Kelley was from one of my coaches, and that was kind of the aesthetic and the vibe that's, I never came up with that. That just kind of got stuck on me. I was like, okay, it was a compliment, of course, and I liked it better than the Barbie doll image, but yeah, I aesthetically really fit kind of the traditional sport of skating, but as a human and as a person, I'm really far off from that. So, and I was a little bit worried about being pigeonholed. Molly said, being that girl. Right. But it was refreshing, I guess, to actually say what I wanted to speak my mind, to be vulnerable, and not just kind of put up that facade of, hi, I'm Gracie and everything is great today. It was nice to kind of be able to take that off and just be me.
I read this remarkable exchange in 2017 when things were sort of low. You were still competing. You were in Colorado Springs, and the judges, some of them couldn't hold back tears while delivering critiques for you because you didn't seem like the skater that they had come to know, and they could tell something was wrong. But in response to the judges and some of what they had to say, you said, can anybody see the cry for help that is my existence right now? And within a month, you had entered that inpatient program. That's such an unbelievable vocalization in the moment of this thing that you'd clearly been holding in. What happened that day?
So we were at, it's called Champs Camp, but it's our kind of summer team evaluations before we go international. And I showed up, and you want to be pretty on point for Champs Camp, because you are competing internationally in a month or two. So I showed up in extra large hoodie, sweatpants. I wasn't jumping at that point, and I was wildly out of shape. And it, very much looked like I hadn't been skating, which I had not been. And during the judges' critique, the tears didn't feel real to me, and they just felt, what really sent me off the edge was they were like, if you lost weight, we could get this back on track. And I was like, oh, here we go again. If we just lose weight, it'll all be fine, right? I was so sick of hearing that. And in fact, there were so many other things going on. They just were lecturing me about being untrained and being out of shape. And no one stopped to ask, because I was always a hard worker. Yeah, no one stopped to ask what is preventing you from training? Is there something else that's going on that's the root cause about why we're here? And so I did get a little profane, and I did let them know my thoughts, which was off brands, because normally I would just hold my tongue and be nice and polite. Again, in a sport like skating, we are judged. So it's not recommended to go off on the people judging you with profanity. Not recommended. But yeah, I was so sick of no one seeing me. Right. Who I was as a person. And as you said, DeMar, like, yeah, just seeing a basketball player and not a person. I just felt like they saw the figure skater, just like a Barbie doll. And if I didn't fit the mold that they wanted for me, it was behavioral. It was like mental health never crossed anyone's mind.
And what a remarkable failure that is in sports and has been for such a long time, to look at people who are at the very best at what they do and have worked so hard to get there and then accuse them of laziness or not caring or not wanting it. And so often that's what we do instead of trying to understand and have conversations about what might be at the root of their changed behaviors or the way that they're handling themselves. Molly, what is the response in your sport? And do you feel like it's in a good place to receive conversations about this stuff?
Yeah, I think it's definitely become much more of a point of conversation within the sport of running. A lot of women that I really look up to have spoken out about this. Over the last couple of years, Lauren Fleshman is actually a huge inspiration for me as an athlete personally, and she's written a lot about how her own experience of feeling like she had to change her body in this sport, and that I think it's becoming something that people are aware of, people are able to talk about. More and more runners are telling their stories about struggling with eating disorders, but unfortunately, I believe it is still a huge problem, especially in the collegiate system of running. So I think it's going to have to just be something that systematically we work to change over years, maybe getting more female coaches into the collegiate running, just opening dialogues about this kind of stuff, because nothing's going to change if we don't actively work to make it change.
Bringing a light to all this is so important. And you mentioned earlier, a lot of people think when you talk about it, oh, I'm so glad that you fixed it and the problem's over. But it's an ongoing process of recovery. It's a journey. And for you, Molly, interestingly, when you switched to marathon, in college you were dominant at 10,000 and you decided to try marathon. You have incredible success from the start, but you have to relearn what it means to fuel your body for 26 miles plus versus shorter distances. How has that been for you? Because that's a whole different set of tools that you need to understand how much you have to put in to get out the results that you want.
Yeah, the marathon fueling is something that I still truthfully struggle with, especially in this build up for London. We really worked to nail it down, because Atlanta, leading into the Olympic trials, which was my first marathon, I really had no idea what to expect. And you bump your training up suddenly. Instead of running 80 miles a week, you're running 120. And the fueling requirements for your body, like there were certain days where I'm eating 3,000 to 4,000 calories a day. And just for someone who's been through eating disorder treatment, that can already be fairly triggering. And then in addition to that, you literally have to fuel during the marathon. You're taking in carbohydrates while you run. So it really was kind of this paradigm shift of how I had approached my running and my fueling in college. I think there was always this approach in college of, I can't eat too much because the worst thing in the world is to have too many calories. Whereas now my approach is more, the worst thing is to have too few calories, to not have enough fuel, because you will literally bonk in the marathon. You will literally not be able to finish. So it's taken work. It's continued work with my therapist. My coach has been right along with me this whole thing. I'm very open with him about my struggles. He knows that. He works with me with it. And yeah, I think it's kind of going back to just having that support system and being able to learn from people around me and women who are more experienced giving me advice. So yeah, it's a learning process, but I feel like London, this past marathon I just did 3 weeks ago, is a really good step on the way as I prepare for the Olympics. Get one more in, learn a little bit more, finally learn how to fuel during a marathon.
Yeah. Well, not to mention personal best, cutting your time in just your second marathon. So fantastic, so impressive. DeMar, you told ESPN back when you went public and you participated in a PSA for the NBA, and you were a part of their developing efforts to be more aware and supportive of mental health issues. You told ESPN, people say, what are you depressed about? You could buy anything you want. I wish everyone in the world was rich so they could realize money isn't everything. That comes up every time this comes up. Whether that's an athlete who gets injured, he'll be fine, he's rich. An athlete who doesn't achieve the thing they were most working towards, oh, he'll be fine, he's rich. Tell me about what you want people to understand about mental health.
it's a serious matter. You know, it's one of those things that it does not discriminate on anyone, and it's a thing that ruins a lot of people that don't address it. You know, it's a crazy thing when I hear people say that. You know, you just dehumanizing a person already by even saying that, by thinking because somebody has this, that, or the third, you know, that they're fine. You know, and that's not right. You know, and I think that's why it's such an important topic to get people to understand that a lot of times the ones who even say stuff like that could be suffering from so much as well that they don't know or they're afraid to address. So for me, it's just one of those things to where like we gotta treat it like it's like everything else. How we treat our health, the way we eat, the way we approach life. That's how important mental health is, you know, and it get pushed under the rug so much because people don't want to be vulnerable. People don't want to feel like they're less of a person. And having these conversations show people how empowering it really is when you speak your story. You know, for me, I get more excited when I'm able to see players in any sports, in any walk of life, share their story. You know, it just shows me how remarkable of a person they are, and us as human beings walking on this earth, the things that we're capable to do on a daily basis, with the things we go through, with the things we're faced with every single day. You know, it's one of those things that we have to speak about because we live in a tough world. You know, you turn on the TV, you see so much negativity, you see so much stuff that goes on every single day that plays on people's mind unconsciously. That's depressing. And if you don't address it or understand it, it will play on you, and you'll end up in that same hole with everybody else. You know, and I think the more people that have conversation like this, you'll get more of a positive feeling and more caring for the person that's sitting next to you. You know, I don't care where I go. I look at every single person the exact same. I don't care. I speak with everybody the exact same with nothing but respect and try to give off positivity because you don't know what that person go to. You know, for me, I grew up in, you know, Compton, California, and, you know, it would be days I go to school and you could be laughing with a friend that sit right next to you, and you come to school the next day and you hear a story about how, you know, he was killed, you know, and you always be like, I wish I would have talked to him more. I wish I would have said something to help him out, you know, and living with a lot of those regrets sucks, and it plays on you. So I always try to treat everybody with some type of respect and give them some type of inspiration to do the same to somebody else when they go somewhere. So, you know, just
never know what people are going through.
People look at it like it's such a cliche word, but it's real. That's the realest saying that I could think of. You never know what someone is going through because we are so great at telling white lies every single day. You know, I always tell people we'll walk by somebody and say, you know, they ask us how we doing, or we ask them how they doing, and first thing we say, I'm great, I'm good. You know, we do it unconsciously to where we're so trained to keep whatever we feeling in that day in because we may not want to be a burden to that person, or we may not want to speak on it. When speaking about it kind of gives you a relief and feel like, you know what, let me try to help somebody else out. Let me ask them how your day going. Let's talk about it. You know what I mean? And keep it moving from there. So.
It is. It's remarkable how much better people can feel just getting it off their chest, just talking to someone and connecting with another human being. It's been tough to be great over the last few months, especially an added challenge to all of us with coronavirus, with uncertainty about your sports and jobs and everything else. I want to leave by talking about some toolboxes and some kits and some tricks that we all have. And Gracie, I'm curious, over the course of this time, understanding what you're dealing with and how to power through it and how to address it and continue on your journey. What is that toolbox look like for you, and what have you learned?
Learned a lot. Well, one thing that's not in my toolbox is powering through it, because that's one of my favorite unhealthy coping mechanisms. Is I just like, just run faster, just push through it, do more. Like, something's not going well, do more. And especially when I was in my eating disorder, something wasn't going well, eat less, lose weight, as if that would like just fix everything. So I tried to slow down for a second, take a break, just even a moment in time, and just evaluate. I always try to find the root cause, because that's obviously how you get to it. But a lot of meditation and a lot of leaning on others when they have the emotional capacity to be there for me. Right. I had trouble sharing with people a lot when stuff was really bad, because I just assumed that I was just all knowing, and I knew that I just always had the feeling that they didn't have the capacity to handle it. Yeah, and as Dara said, like to burden them or to be a burden, that wasn't something that I wanted. I always had pride in being self-sufficient. So, you know, the group of people I have around me now, there's always the morning greeting of like, hey, how are you? But they always take an extra second to be like, no, how are you? Or if they notice a behavior, like a couple weeks ago, I just had a series of mornings where I was super late and I showed up to the rink unprepared, like just kind of sloppy, a mess. And instead of giving me a lecture on time management and just showing up on the ice prepared, you know, they took a second to say, hey, is everything okay? Is there something going on in your life that's causing this? So communicating with others has been one of my biggest things, because my instinct is to close the doors and just power through. So resisting that, as well as turns out I do love meditation. I always thought that was one of those like lame like things that you saw on Pinterest. You know, they were like, I meditate for 10 minutes a day. But it actually is really, really useful, especially for someone like me who just wants to do more and just wants to go fast and be present and just attack everything all the time. So forcing myself to slow down and check in has been very, very
such a great tool. So important. We're running out of time, but really quickly, Molly, I would love to hear if you have a toolbox, something that you've learned.
Yeah, I think just being able to be open with others and like, what Gracie said, be able to be communicative of when I'm not doing okay. Right at the beginning of the pandemic here in Boston, where I live with my sister had actually gone home to Wisconsin with our parents, and I was alone here. And just realizing like, I'm really not okay right now. Like, I can't do this alone. I was starting to spiral. And so I flew back to Wisconsin so that I could be with my family, so I could be with my sister, because she's someone that is really there for me and kind of holds me accountable to be mentally healthy. Just realizing that's how it was when I went into eating disorder treatment. You only get through it with the support of other people. I think a lot of mental disorders kind of thrive in isolation. And so for me, it's always been, okay, I need the strength of others to help me get through this.
What a great and powerful message from all three of you. And you're doing that right now, not just with the people around you and your own teams and communities and families, but everybody watching and everybody who hears what you guys share are getting the power of that communication, of that connection, of pulling them out into talking about it and getting help. Thank you guys so much for being here. We could talk so much longer. You have such great insights, but I so appreciate the time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just am so thankful that we are talking about these issues more, and people like that are so inspiring in doing that. I want to mention, by the way, that October is Bullying Prevention Month. Nearly 1 in 4 students experiencing bullying during the school year. Join us October 22nd for the first X Games Shred Hate Day, and pledge to shred hate and choose kindness. Go to xgames.com/shredhate to download the pledge and then share using #ShredHate. All these conversations make it so much easier to share with each other what we're going through and to lift each other up. And just again, thank you so much to those three for giving us the time today. The next panel, we needed to show a little visual in order to get you ready for it. And it's about the single hottest piece of merch that was out there in the last couple months. Oh, that's right. It's the orange WNBA hoodie, and I had one, and I rock it, and I get so many compliments. I hope it's not still sold out. I hope you guys can go get it and join me. To intro our league leadership panel, please welcome Carol Stiff, ESPN's Vice President of Women's Sports Programming. And she's rocking the hoodie, yes! Hey, Carol.
Hey, Sarah, thanks so much. Happy to be with you guys today. And I have my uniform on, but I'm here to introduce Commissioner Cathy Engelbert. But before I do that, I want to congratulate the 2020 WNBA Championship team, Seattle Storm, along with all the WNBA players, all the coaches, the medical staffs, the WNBA staff, the media, for their dedication, support, and coverage of the WNBA. As for ESPN, we certainly found our silver lining with regard to COVID-19. We produced 37 regular season games. Just a year ago, we only produced 11. We also produced all 15 of the playoff games, and we had a record high number of games on ABC, 10. So really, really proud of how we turned that around and made a positive out of a negative. So without further ado, since March 13th, I've had the opportunity to get to know Commissioner Cathy Engelbert. I often stated to her many times on phone calls or on emails is that she needs to write a book. So I'm going to take the liberty of writing the first 4 chapters for her and entitling them as she gets ready to write her biography. So Chapter 1, Learn, Grow, and Lead. Cathy was a Lehigh grad. She earned her degree in accounting. She played lacrosse, but of course she played basketball, and she played for the Hall of Famer Muffet McGraw. Chapter 2, Purpose Matters. Cathy had a stellar 33-year career at Deloitte, becoming the CEO in 2015, the first woman ever to lead a Big Four firm. Chapter 3, I called this, We Are in This Together, or it might be Let the Fun Begin. So in July of 2019, Cathy became the first WNBA commissioner, not president, commissioner. She successfully negotiated the new CBA deal, which is important that she reinforced her value for a player-centric league, and of course the promotion of diversity and inclusion. In the past, April, she was the force behind the first ESPN virtual draft with the #1 pick, Sabrina Ionescu. By the summer's end, Cathy became a COVID-19 pandemic safety expert and offered the WNBA players a safe environment to showcase their talents and, frankly, do their jobs. And lastly but not least, Cathy embraced social justice this summer by listening to the players from day one and standing alongside them down at IMG, as a leader should. Last chapter, Chapter 4, Best Award to Receive. Cathy is a proud mom of 2 children, Julia and Thomas. One of Cathy's favorite recognitions was given to her by Working Mother magazine, and she was noted as one of the top 50 most powerful moms. So in closing, before I hand off to LaChina, my last suggestion for future chapter would hopefully focus on the following. What's next? We got next. The 25th anniversary of the WNBA is this coming summer. Increasing revenue for the WNBA, increasing viewership for the WNBA. But let's bet on Cathy Engelbert to tackle it all. But also, let's bet on all of us to support her in the writing of the next few chapters of her biography. So with that, LaChina, all yours to interview our commissioner of the WNBA, Cathy Engelbert.
Thank you so much, Carol. And wow, what an incredible list of what was accomplished this summer for the WNBA. Thank you for all that you did this summer as well, as our coverage was expanded for ESPN, and we just had a tremendous turnout in terms of ratings and such. I will say to you, as Sarah Spain, I don't have my WNBA hoodie on today, but that's because RBG did give me permission to wear my Vote t-shirt. So that's the only reason why I'm not wearing my WNBA hoodie. But thank you so much, Carol. And you did all the introducing. So just want to welcome in WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert right now. And Cathy, in hearing everything that Carol just ran down and what not only you've accomplished so far as commissioner of this league, but just the job that you did this summer in a time of great uncertainty, what stands out to you most?
Hi, LaChina. Thanks so much. And Carol, thank you. Now I need to give royalties to Carol for the book, for sure. So what stood out? What stood out, flipping the business model on a dime in the middle of a global pandemic and, a racial crisis in this country that continues. It was really important to the players, I think, and I give them a lot of credit because going somewhere for 92 days in a bubble is not easy, away from family. Some got to bring their families. Obviously, we're a mom and woman-driven league, working women, so we did allow some guests and certainly moms to bring their kids. But, what stood out was having an entire league in one place at the same time during, again, very challenging times, and listening to the prior panel on the mental strain and anguish that athletes can go through and how important it was for our players to believe that we, one, could make sure we have a very health and safe environment for them. That was priority number one, but also that we could put on a highly competitive season while it being bigger than basketball with their social justice platform. So, just turning the whole business model on its head. We had 1.3 million fans sit in our seats last year that we didn't have. We had 0 this year. And so just think about that and let that set in as to what that could do for a league of the size and scale of ours. And I'm so proud of our team here at the league, and I'm so proud of the players and our whole ecosystem for the support that we got.
Yeah, just an incredible job by you and everyone involved. And you had a lot of stakeholders that you had to convince. You mentioned the players. You've obviously had teams and just a lot of moving pieces that you had to get on the same page about even having a season this year. So what did you learn in that process about your job as a leader and how to get that buy-in?
Yeah, it's a great question about stakeholders that everybody on this in this conference can learn about how important it is to socialize and communicate and over-communicate in the middle of a crisis, because a crisis tends to amplify your weaknesses, but it's also an opportunity to fix that and to build stronger relationships with your stakeholder group. So for us, again, coming off the first virtual draft that Carol referred to and a successful draft, think about it. Back in April, we didn't know a lot about the virus. And so there was a lot of uncertainty. In New York, where I am today, it was spiking, but it wasn't even in Florida, and it wasn't in Vegas and other places that we were looking at having a potential season. So if you think about the stakeholders you had to bring along at how we can put on health and safety. And, I didn't know things like, cycle threshold values and sufficient viral load and everything I learned about this virus, by consulting with specialists. So even the stakeholders, the medical community, including our head athletic trainers, our team physicians, we had to make sure, because at first we weren't really communicating with them, and we realized, but that's who the players are going to for advice. So we need to bring everybody into the conversation, communicate very clearly about why we thought we could pull this off, with health and safety as the #1 priority.
Yeah, every time I would hear you say that you were having conversations with health officials, I'm just wondering how wide your medical terminology is now based on where it was when you started this season and started all of these discussions. But I do want to take you back a little bit, because you hit the ground running as commissioner of the WNBA. And one of the first major things that you did was to negotiate a landmark CBA, which included maternity leave, increase in pay, what we would call a holistic CBA. Tell me what you learned in the process of those negotiations as you look to balance the business of the WNBA with what we know often happens to women in negotiations, that they get the short end of the stick.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Think about it. At last year's espnW Summit, we were just in the throes of coming off the WNBA season and entering into the core part of those negotiations. And again, you know, the legal team and the team before I even got here did a great job of setting up what all the issues were. I just came in and realized pretty quickly all the things the players wanted were the things I would want if I was a player. And having been a player, not at the professional level, all of these things made sense to me. So it was one of the few times in my career in a negotiation I said, you know, usually you have the opposite goal of the other side and you're trying to negotiate hard against it. Here, you know, very proud of the players. It ended up being a very, very tough negotiation, but proud of them for standing up on what they wanted and what they believe, and proud of the league and the owners. I mean, the owners deserve a significant amount of credit and support, because ultimately as the owners who have stepped up, you know, financially with, you know, supporting some of the commitments made under the collective bargaining agreement. But, you know, it doesn't seem possible to China. That was just January. What a year. And it seems like it was 5 years ago now, but really proud of, as you said, you know, again, this is a league of working women. And, you know, coming from Deloitte, where we had 100,000 people, you know, 50% women, you know, we did things for all of our people, but certainly with a focus on women and developing women. So why would we do anything different here? Because sports is big business, just like, and business is all about relationships. So to me, it wasn't as different as what I had dealt with before. The only thing that was different was, yeah, I think these things were important too, and we had to fight along with the players, but we had to find the right economic model to fund them as well.
And can't say enough about how important it is for you as a former athlete, as a mom, as a working woman, to have all of that also in your background as you're negotiating with women who mirror exactly who you are and some of the needs that you've had over the course of your career. Sticking with the economics, I know that you once mentioned that you were brought in to this position to transform the economics of the WNBA. What have you learned about this league from that viewpoint, and also just the overall valuation of women's sports?
That's probably been my biggest surprise, is coming in, because I didn't know a lot about how women's sports were valued, how a placement on a uniform, a patch, a placement on a court, what the metrics were that were used to measure it, and obviously viewership and ratings and all the traditional impressions, media impressions that are used. And you know, this is still a transformation, a work in progress, because when I came in, when I learned that less than 1% of all, you know, sports sponsorship, sports money coming from corporations into sports went to women's sports, you know, that's a pretty tall task to try to move that when the denominator is enormous because of the size and scale of men's sports. So the economics are not easy to drive. I think we made great strides this year with the help of ESPN. I mean, a 68% increase in viewership, and that's a lot in part of what Carol described around an increase in games. And people say, well, you have more viewership because you have more games. But that's the point. The more viewership you have, you know, I think Kate Johnson from Google on a prior panel said, if you build it, they will come. We also had 17.2 million unique female visitors this year, and that was up, viewers, I'm sorry, that was up 28%. Our Game 3 was up 34% in the rating, and overall the finals were up 15% when one of those 3 games competed with the NFL. And so it's a very crowded sports and political arena this year, and I think the WNBA really came out well. But back to the economics, if these two facts are right, LaChina, 84% of sports fans are interested in women's sports, and women control 85% of U.S. spending power, we should be able to really transform the way women's sports are valued. Some of it's in the algorithm of the way it gets valued, because I believe it's off a men's model, heavily discounted, but some of it's in the exposure. And that was one of our goals this summer, was to use the crisis to draw more exposure into, use 2 crises actually, to draw exposure into women's sports. And I think that we were hugely successful in doing that. And now we can use that momentum to go into our 25th season, the only women's professional league in America, to reach its 25th season, and we're fortunate to have the NBA as a huge supporter, NBA players, but also if you look at the demographics of our fan, that's also an opportunity for us to drive a broader fan base and broader viewership.
If you build it, they will come. We will continue to say that, because I want to go back to that number, that miserable number around sponsorship for women's sports. And when you look at the WNBA in particular, it's arguably the most marginalized league in professional sports, where you have 144 women, 80% plus Black league. You have many players that identify with the LGBTQIAQ+, I hope I got all those letters in, community. When you're going to sponsors and you're looking at the demographic of your league in particular, what are some of the unique challenges you face in getting them to invest in the league that it comprises of women that are often forgotten and left out?
Well, and I think as I came into the league, that's exactly what I saw as opportunity in the narrative, and getting that narrative correct about women, women of color, LGBTQ+, women who really have been marginalized and haven't gotten the support and guidance and development and opportunities. And so one of the reasons I took the job was exactly that, LaChina, was to come in and build a narrative and go to corporations and say, their values match yours, you should support them. And so we did launch, coming out of the collective bargaining agreement, the WNBA Changemaker program, and signed up 3 inaugural changemakers, AT&T, Deloitte, and Nike. And if you think about their values and how they match, and I know Shiz Suzuki was on earlier from AT&T and talked about how they have really doubled down on their commitment to women. And so you do want to find, you have to find the right match, but you do want to find companies who want to match up to the values and want to kind of put their money, where their values are and what they want to be known for internally in their talent base, and externally as an organization that supports diverse women. And I think that's all part of the narrative here. And I think, we have to stop thinking about it as our negative about our league, but use it as a positive to actually sell the league and sell off the league, because these women are amazing. They have great stories. They're smart, they're entrepreneurial, they're moms. There's so many dimensions. And I got to see that even more closely being down in the bubble with them. And I couldn't be more proud of what they represent, how strong their platforms were, and how not one and done they have always been. They have always been advocating for the right things and the right values. So now, call to action to companies, hopefully some of you in this conference, to step up and support these diverse women, because these are the next generation of leaders. And if we don't invest in them now, the companies that are investing in these type of leaders will be the ones that succeed in the future. And I know this from my prior life, and I will tell you that the return will be enormous. It may not be the traditional metrics, but the return will be definitely worth it.
Yeah, get ahead of the game. If you're a sponsor, you see this league where these women are just so dynamic. And you mentioned a call to action, and the call to action for the WNBA this summer was around racial equality, social justice. And one of the demands of the players of the league coming in to you, to the Players Association, to everyone was, if we come to Bradenton, Florida in this bubble, we want to amplify our voices for change. And in my opinion, I would say the WNBA set pace. I mean, you set the bar around how to do that as an entire league. But I'm just curious, I mean, as many companies and organizations look to put racial equality at the top of their agendas right now, how do you keep a pulse as a white woman on a league that's 80% plus Black women, making sure that you are compassionate and empathetic, and also understanding on how to move the league's brand forward around conversations that involve race?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and it's a question of strategy. It was a question for me as a white woman of listening. I'm in my mid-50s. I've had a long career before I came here, but I learned a lot this summer from these players by listening. And I always say, and I forget whose quote it is, listen with the intent to understand, not the intent to reply. And in this kind of social media and politically divisive world, many times we're like let's reply. No. Let's listen, let's strategize together. I had several meetings with the players early on, after obviously George Floyd and then Jacob Blake, to talk to them about strategy. How do they want to play chess, not checkers, as it relates to their social justice platform, and had enormous support from the Players Association, Nneka Ogwumike, Terry Jackson, Laysia Clarendon, and really I couldn't be more proud of what they represented, but how they taught me to be more tolerant and to listen and to make sure that we don't always have to agree on every single issue, but we need to actually support. And my role as the commissioner is to amplify and support them, and that's what we did, and had enormous support from my team, Bethany Donovan, and others on my team that really stepped up and helped facilitate a lot of what went on in the bubble around the social justice platform, so that now, coming off of the season, it's not a one and done. We can continue it with the Social Justice Council. We had 3 black female mayors do a session with the players. We did other, call it social activist strategists, to really actually figure out how the players can take their platform and affect real change, and support elected leaders who stand for their values, support the voting initiative, support gun control and gun reform, support criminal justice reform, because we know Maya Moore has now taken 2 seasons off to do that. Natasha Cloud opted out to work on her platform. So, you know, if you think about that, I mean, this isn't a one and done for us. This is now part of the fabric of the WNBA.
Yeah, I could not be more proud of watching those women just as organized and educated as they were around the issues, as intentional as they were in their messaging, often around voting. It was just amazing to watch. And I want to go a little bit deeper because there was a night, August 26th, when the WNBA was set to play on ESPN. And led by the Washington Mystics, a decision was made as a league that there would be no games that night. This was shortly after the shooting of Jacob Blake. You were there in conversation with players, with Nneka Ogwumike, the president of the Players Association, as the decision to not play was made. What did you learn from what happened that night?
Yeah, it was really interesting. As I walked into our arena, I saw some of the coaches in the hallway, and I usually got there about 45 minutes early before tip, but I got there a little earlier that day because it had been evolving over in Orlando with the NBA. I had been calling our coaches to say, are you hearing anything? How are our players feeling? I know this is all so raw, and it was raw back, you know, when we even tipped the season. And so then I walked on the court, and I kind of stayed in the background, and then I saw Nneka because the Sparks were going to play the second game. We had 3 games scheduled that night, all on national television. So, and I think it was Atlanta, Washington, and both the Mystics and the Dream were on the court in their uniforms talking. And again, went over and just started listening, kind of stayed on the outskirts and started listening. And sure, did I want them to play at first? Yes, absolutely, because I thought they could have a really strong voice that night to play for the higher cause of racial injustice in this country. And they were all wearing Breonna Taylor already on the back of their jersey. They had done the Say Her Name by the African American Policy Forum. And so they already had this really strong voice. And when they decided not to play, we 100% supported them. And LaChina, literally, by the time we drove, it's only a 20-minute ride to the broadcast courts, drove back to the hotel. I think it was Laysia and the Liberty who had put together this candlelight vigil, which was so powerful. Oh, I see you have it up here already. So powerful. And Nneka and Laysia, as members of the Executive Committee of the Players Association, addressed an entire league in one place. It still gives me chills even to talk about it now. And we were outdoors in Florida with masks on, and really just anyone who wanted to go up and speak. And the emotion was so raw, but to have a whole league there talking about how difficult this was on them mentally, on their families. Some of them have sons and black sons who could have been the Jacob Blake or the George Floyd. It was, I'll never forget, it was extremely powerful.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, even seeing the Mystics who were wearing the shirts with the gunshots in the back, and there were actually children there. I believe Manuel, who's the son of Washington Mystics player Tiana Hawkins, was there. And so you're having these conversations that are of things that are happening in the world, but you're seeing the children there, and it was just just what a scene. And then the next day, Holly Rowe doing the round table with the executive committee of the Players Association, having all of the 144 players locking arms in one place. It's just quite incredible to see an entire league standing together the way that they did. Something that you've mentioned, I want to read this quote. You said, "I built this confidence when I was in high school and college to compete in an otherwise male-dominated world, and I want to help other women do the same, to succeed." I believe we might have lost Kathy. Give us one quick second. Sorry, technical difficulties.
LaChina, it's Sage. It's not Kathy.
Right.
Hi, can you hear me?
Hey, how are you?
I got your back, girl.
Yes.
How are you?
I appreciate it. You know, technology these days, got to kind of roll with it. I'm doing well, but you guys are having a blast in studio. I wish I had some company with me, you know?
I know. I have to say, we're not used to it here, and this is Laura and Allison's first time in studio and since like March on campus, so it's been really, really nice. I wanted to point something out as we wait to see if Kathy can come back. LaChina Robinson needs a little bit of extra love because I remember meeting you probably, what, 11, 12 years ago in the cafeteria over here at ESPN, and what you have done with your career personally, but then helping so many others has been beautiful to watch. For everybody who doesn't know, LaChina is a huge part of our WNBA coverage, and the podcast that LaChina created and is just rocking, it's called Around the Rim. It is the only podcast dedicated solely to women's basketball, the only one. And I just wanted to give you some love because you have earned it, you have worked for it, and it's through the support of espnW, of course. But people need to know all about LaChina.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Sage. And you said the word helping others. You were willing to sit down and help young LaChina, who had never been on television, had no broadcast degree, no communications, but had this dream of doing this job one day, and you were willing to sit down with me and give me advice and help me out. So I'm just grateful for that time. Carol Stiff was a part of that trip that I made to ESPN and has been instrumental in my career. Thank you to Laura and Amy Rosenfeld and all of the people that have been advocates, Beth Chappell for me over time. But yeah, you sat down with me. You even told me to start using Studio Fix from Mac, and I'm still using it to this day because I wanted to look like you on camera. So
oh my God,
hopefully that's helping me out a little
bit. There's a
bit.
lot on me today, that's for sure. Listen, awesome with Kathy, and again, I'm listening to the producers. I'm not sure if we're going to get Kathy back. You know what? Let's bring Kathy back in, and I'll let you guys continue. I know you were close to wrapping it up, but real quick, I'm sure Kathy would love to hear this, LaChina. Your biggest takeaway from what we witnessed, another amazing championship run for the Seattle Storm, but what was your biggest takeaway from your perspective, your chair, as you watched not just what the ladies of the WNBA did, but how they did it?
The work, Sage, the work that they put in. I mean, from not having facilities to work out in leading into the season, really not knowing if there was going to be one or not, the work that Kathy Engelberg and her staff put in to make sure that there would be a season, the health officials, the team. I mean, there was so much sacrifice that went into this WNBA season. That's why you're happy to see the numbers and the metrics meet what was put in, is that people were tuning in and the product was outstanding. And, you know, we had Jewell Loyd on earlier today, and you know, just Sue Bird and what she's doing in her 17 years in the league. You just can't say enough. It was a very magical summer. And I was someone that came in, was unsure with everything that was happening in our world if we should move forward with the WNBA summer, but it clearly proved to be the right decision in an outstanding season for everyone. And Kathy, I think you're back with us. There she is. Hello.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes,
right.
I can hear you. Just gonna wrap this up here, but I was asking you about a piece of advice that you would have for women. I was reading a quote from you where you said, "I built this incredible confidence when I was in high school and college to compete in an otherwise male-dominated world, and I want to help other women do the same thing and succeed." What did you learn that you would want to pass on to other women about how to succeed in a male-dominated world?
Yeah, it is all about confidence. I call it the 3 C's: confidence, curiosity. And curiosity is so important today because the world has become so complex. So whether you're in sports, whether you're in business, there's a lot of complexity out there. So you have to absolutely stay curious, and courage. I mean, you saw the courage of the WNBA players this summer. You have to have courage to make decisions, to take risks. As people say, no one shoots. You miss 100% of the shots that you don't take, and that's something I've learned throughout my career and has always been important to me to take some risks in my career. So that's the advice I would give LaChina to compete in this world. I grew up with 5 brothers and obviously joined a very male-dominated business world. But, I have a lot of optimism that there's a lot of women and a lot of women of color who have great capabilities to step up into leadership roles in the future. And, we're seeing it in politics, we're seeing it in government, we're seeing it in the private sector. So I'm looking forward to some of these WNBA players, too, becoming future leaders in corporate America.
Well, we're grateful for your work. And as we leave, I have to ask you, the 25th season of the WNBA coming up next summer, 2021, what is at the top of your agenda in terms of continuing to expand and grow this league?
Yeah, it is growth. It's innovation. I forgot to mention our Tap to Cheer app. We had 140 million taps on our Tap to Cheer app. Think about that and let that sink in. A new innovation, something that we did in the middle of the crisis. And are able to, again, hopefully glean some fan data. So we need to find new revenue models. We do have some special competitions we'd like to put on next year. We'd like to put on an All-Star game. We do have the Olympics where the U.S. women's national team will be going for their 7th consecutive gold medal, and then our 25th anniversary season. So a lot of momentum, a lot of North Stars pointing very far north. We need some investment. We need further companies to step up and support. But I feel really good about the momentum of the league and how we're going to continue to drive the transformation, hopefully not just of the WNBA, but women's sports.
Well, thank you so much, Kathy, for your time, for your leadership. Congratulations on a successful season. We will look forward to 2021, but hopefully you'll get a little time on the golf course before that. Make sure you're taking some time for a break as well and taking care of Kathy in the midst of all of this. Thank you so much. And we would like to thank
everyone stay. I was just going to say, everyone stay healthy and safe.
Yes, that's very important and top of the agenda. We would like to thank AT&T, a first-time Summit partner for this year. They are a marquee sponsor of the WNBA and presenting sponsor of the WNBA playoffs on ESPN. It is great to have them as part of the espnW Summit. We thank them for their support and for all of their support of women's sports and female athletes. Shiz, yes, you are the bomb. We appreciate you. And with that, thank you again to Kathy Engelbert. Thank you to everyone for having me. And back to Sage Steele. Thanks, Sage.
Thank you, LaChina. Awesome, awesome job. Let's bring in Sarah Spain once again. And Sarah, we still have ways to go here today till about 6 o'clock Eastern time. But wow. Kathy Engelbert is always wonderful. She's very familiar with what we do here at espnW and at the Summit in California as well. I'm sure that you've checked social media, and the panel on mental health that you moderated just resonated. I don't know that I've seen, at least not in many years, that kind of a visceral reaction and appreciation, especially, and I'll say this and I'll let you, I'd love to get your thoughts being the one in the middle of it. You said it when you introduced DeMar DeRozan, and as a man, a black man in the NBA, and toughness is everything. That he continues to show his courage by coming on and doing this with us at espnW. He's a wonderful, wonderful young man. It was incredible. So awesome job to you. But what was your biggest takeaway sitting in the middle of it?
Yeah, I sort of feel emotional talking about it because, Sage, I just want to say, as someone who has not dealt with anxiety or depression or any of those issues before in my life, it's been hard the last couple months. Yeah. I am a control freak. I am a very social person. I'm someone that loves to have everything scheduled and planned, and I'm going to go out and crush whatever's in front of me. And it's been really hard to not be able to plan things. It's been really hard to feel overwhelmed at times. We didn't have sports for 3 months, so I did 3 hours of radio every night with no sports, right? Which was great, actually. I got to talk about things that were really meaningful and powerful to me, like the civil unrest in our country and why we needed to engage in social issues in sports. But then when sports came back, I keep affectionately calling it a sports apocalypse, but that's my way of dealing with the fact that all at once I was trying to talk about WNBA finals, MLB finals, NHL, NFL, college football, everything at once. And I got overwhelmed, and I had an anxiety attack one day where I was trying to tackle this load of email in front of me, and I had blurry vision. And I started Googling detached retinas and COVID-19 in eyes. And as I Googled, I started to realize I was having a panic attack about everything on my plate. And so for me, like emotionally being able to connect with people who have shined a light on this and are brave enough to talk about it and open up so that other people feel understood and feel heard. I just feel connected to it in a way that I never did before after the last couple months. And I can't imagine how tough it's for people with kids or who have lost their jobs. And I just think the message of asking people if they're okay and knowing that everybody's going through something is so important right now as we interact with people virtually or in person.
I think that was the title, if I recall, of Robin Roberts' book. Everybody's got
their something.
And this year has been full of somethings for pretty much everyone. And then when you ask that question, or you're being asked that question, are you okay? What do we all say? Yeah, good, I'm fine. And you know, you and I have a lot in common with that. It's like, heck yeah, I'm good. I have perspective. I have a job that I love. I'm healthy. Yeah, but you know what? I actually am not great today, and here's why. And I think we're all so hesitant usually to be honest about that. I will say that for me, the last 7 or 8 months, I am just more honest. I'm kind of, it's part of aging too, when you're my age, right?
Yes.
You just say, forget it, I don't really care. But just to kind of own that stuff. And then what I found is that by being a little more honest about it, others were as well. So you're not just helping yourself, you're helping others. And that's what your panel did. And I love it. We're going to put that link out there. I'm going to go home tonight and have my 3 teenagers watch it. We all have something. And I'm so thankful for that. And you got a lot out of them.
To what you said about DeMar too, I want to say again, how much we need to keep having conversations about boys and men and letting them be honest and vulnerable and share their feelings and share their struggles, because a lot of the problems that we have in this country are that feeling of toxic masculinity and the expectation. So we need to keep having those conversations, not just about girls, but about boys too.
Love it. Beautiful. We'll be back to you in a little bit, Sarah. In the meantime, Sarah's my teammate. Look, actually, Sarah's on the screen. I know I feel kind of more at home now. For those of you who haven't joined us live and in person at the summit, let me tell you what it's like when the 3 of us are on stage.
Foudy's doing the worm, usually. Foudy's doing the worm. I'm saying too many words, and Sage is wearing outfits that she got that no one else got in their gift bag, and then asking if everyone loves the jacket they got. And then we're like, Sage, we didn't get that. That was for VIPs.
You know, this is twice now that you've ripped on me live. Trust me, I'm nice, but I'm not that nice, and I will get you.
Sage, you have really nice abs.
I hate you.
Really nice abs.
I hate you. But see, I'm going to pretend like you didn't say that, and the smile is gone. I'm going to get serious because our next moderator / interviewer, Julie, I mean, this is annoying. Your resume is so long at this point. ESPNW writer, soccer commentator for us here at ESPNW, of course, ESPN. Podcast host called Laughter Permitted. We do a lot of laughing when Foudy is around. And oh yeah, World Cup champ, Olympic gold medalist, blah, 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 blah. Julie Foudy, welcome back. I miss you.
Oh, I miss you guys so much. You guys are rocking it as always. You're looking good too.
Thanks.
Thank you for all you're doing.
Thank you.
I am beyond excited to introduce our next guest because she's already leaving her own legacy of advocacy, and she has had, beyond that, a front row seat to everything that's happened pretty much historically in the last 30 years in this nation. She is a New York Times bestselling author of her She Persisted series, the latest being She Persisted in Sports, which we will, of course, talk about today. She's a global health advocate, vice chair of the Clinton Foundation, mom, and it must be noted, graduate of the fine institution of Stanford University and Oxford and Columbia. Please put your hands together, even though we can't see you, for the Miss Chelsea Clinton.
Oh, thank you, Julie.
You're rocking your...
I know, right? Look, I know.
Good with your WNBA gear on.
I know. I got it in the mail last week.
Very on brand for today, Chelsea.
Yeah.
Looks really good. Thank you. Hey, let's start with the obvious, because you are a mom of 3 kids under 6 years old, and you're living through a pandemic that is lasting a very long time, Good God, how are you is what I want to know.
Oh gosh, well, Julie, I'm pretty good today because everyone is alive and fed and hopefully entertained. And there was both like actual school and virtual school, and I think everyone's pretty good. I will say though, Julie, on a more serious note, is deeply aware of I am being so grateful for how kind of safe and healthy our family is, and what a privilege it is actually to be able to the best of our ability, guarantee that safe and that safety and that health. I'm really aware of the impact of COVID-19 on our baby, on Jasper. He's now spent more than half his life at home. Yeah. He has no baby friends. You can't really make like baby friendships on Zoom or FaceTime or Skype. And I look at him and I think, because we've been in this for a long time, we're in this for quite a while longer, you know, what will it be like when, I don't know, he's 2 or 3 and all of a sudden can be around other little people his age? Like, how is he going to learn to make friends? You know, of course he'll figure it out, but I'm just really aware of how, you know, my older 2 kids are living kind of modified versions of their life, and, you know, profoundly modified, but modified versions of their life. And Jasper just, you know, like he doesn't know anything else really except just hanging out at home with his family.
Yeah. I have heard you say the silver lining in all of this is that you have your quarantine pod, which, you know, and it's your parents who happen to be Bill and Hillary Clinton. How is that going with them?
They're great grandparents. They have, you know, we really were like very much potted with them over the summer, and our older kids, Charlotte and Aiden, did a lot of gardening with my mom, and they played lots of games with both their grandparents. And Charlotte and my mom like knit and kind of were engaged in weaving all sorts of clothes for her stuffed animals and blankets for them to sleep under, because even though it was like, you know, 90 degrees, they still were very cold and needed to be kept wrapped up and cuddled. And we did lots of baking together. But it really, in many months of many horrors, especially this summer, deep gratitude for the time that we never probably would have made or had together between my kids and their grandparents, and just the gift that my kids have given me, actually, of seeing my parents as grandparents makes it a little bit easier when they're giving them pizza for the 4th meal in a row.
Do they have any awareness, Chelsea, of who their grandparents are? I heard you tell a really cute story about Aiden and his love of numbers, and finding out it was the 42nd was important.
Yeah. It was super exciting that like Pop got to have a number. Was probably the coolest thing that my dad could have ever done for Aiden. You know, I think Charlotte is even more aware because she's about 1.5 years older than Aiden. She is especially aware that her grandma ran for president, and she's very engaged, as much as a newly minted 6-year-old can be, in this election, and in supporting Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And admittedly, she loves that Senator Harris is a girl. That does mean something to her. So I very much see kind of in our own, you know, representation isn't everything. It certainly can't be the goal, but it is certainly really important to how girls see what's possible for them, and also how boys see what's possible for their sisters and the other girls in their lives.
Well, that's very on point, because we're going to move over to a congratulations on your newest book. I don't know if you could see this. My light seems to be a little bright. But it is called, and this is the latest in the She Persisted series. Your first 2 were on American women, and then globally, women who've changed the world. And now you're doing it on these awesome women in sports. Why did you move over to sports specifically?
Well, Julie, as I think you know, I've always loved sports. I mean, I never had an ounce of the talent that you have, but I always loved sports. And I played lots of sports growing up, and I'm really grateful to my parents that they put me in lots of sports and supported me kind of in all of my not successful, but kind of done with lots of gusto athletic efforts. played soccer. I played I played soccer. I played softball.
Yes, there it is, Chelsea.
I took ballet. I loved sports, and sports were very much kind of my outlet for life, and also just such an important part of my life. And as much as I kind of am poking fun at myself, I actually think I learned a pretty important lesson that it's okay to love something that we're not good at. It's okay to work really hard at something, not ever be close to the best, and still have a great time while doing our best, and that there can be, real joy in that experience. And so I just am deeply grateful, especially now as a parent, kind of in looking at my kids, for all that sports taught me. And I am really excited for when it'll be safe for my kids to get kind of back on the field, or also on a court, or kind of wherever else they may want to be, to explore kind of this part of life, and to discover hopefully a similar love of joy that I certainly have felt kind of through sports as an athlete, and also as a spectator, and maybe they'll have some more talents than I ever did.
You shouldn't sell yourself short there, Chelsea. If I had a telestrator, I would have gotten out and drawn on your form there on the soccer picture. When you picked a wonderful group of women, by the way, for your book, and many of them are my favorites as well. How did you decide on these women that you included in this latest She Persisted in Sports book?
All of these women mean something to me. I mean, some of them I have been lucky enough to meet or to get to know, and some of them I just kind of heard about from my grandmother or my mom, or have just kind of cheered on, sometimes as one of kind of many in a crowd, or just behind a television screen. So, I am really grateful to be able to share these women's stories, these women who have inspired me throughout my life. I mean, I grew up with stories of Wilma Rudolph and Babe Didrikson-Zaharias, really from my grandmother, who, grew up in a time where it never occurred to her that she could be an athlete. No one in her life when she was a little girl in the 20s or 30s told her that she could pick up a bat or kick a ball or kind of run on a track. And yet later in life, she did take up tennis, and she, became a vigorous walker. And she was probably the person who cheered the loudest at my softball and soccer games. And it was really important to her that I knew not only about these women that had meant so much to her, when she was a stay-at-home mom in Chicago, but also then meant so much to her later in life, when she remembered back to those stories and she realized she wasn't too old to take a tennis lesson, or she wasn't too old to kind of go for a hike. So, some of them mean so much to me because of reasons like that, and others mean so much to me because of the impact they had on my life. I mean, I remember so vividly watching FloJo, who I write about in the first She Persisted book, just obliterate the Olympic and the world records during the Seoul Olympics. And being a little girl in Little Rock, Arkansas, watching on television her win so fiercely and full of such pride and joy and kind of what she'd been able to prove possible had a huge impact on me. So, some of the stories are kind of ones that are down to me, and some are really part of my own story.
Yeah, your first paragraph too, which I want to read real quick, is the first few lines of your book goes, "It's not easy to be a girl athlete. Girls are more likely to be told sports are for boys, or that they'll never be good enough, first, fast enough, strong enough, and that their Olympic dreams are unacceptable, even impossible. Don't listen to those people." Literally, I was like, oh, thank you. Why didn't I have this as a child, though I needed this younger? It's so timely, and thank you for that.
Think about your life, right? I mean, think about when I was a little girl playing soccer at the local Y League in Little Rock, Arkansas, there were a handful of girls soccer teams across all of Little Rock versus the many, many, many handfuls of boys soccer team. And now girls soccer is one of the most popular kids sports in America. And so much of that has to do with you and like what you proved was possible. So, you know, we know that change can happen because you're a living testament to it, as are like all of the women are extraordinary, like national soccer team today.
Well, that's awfully kind, but I will say you have become such a prolific writer and on women, and it's such a needed shift to my point earlier that, you know, we just weren't reading those books as kids, and it was a male protagonist or it was a male character. And so there has been this shift in the last, I would even say 5 to 10 years, and you have been at the forefront of this, where the narrative is changing, of course, toward women, since you are writing and you have authored so many books on this. Why do you think it took so long for that shift to happen?
Oh, because the patriarchy is strong, right? It's just
yeah.
And it's been winning for millennia. I mean, I think too, like, even as an advocate, I didn't quite realize how still centered on boys and kind of told by kind of boys and written by men children's literature really was until I became a parent. And I just realized how, like, even the books written about animals were so often gendered male. I mean, I don't know why a frog or a duck or a cow even kind of needs a gender in a kid's book. And yet they were so often, and there's nothing wrong with, you know, a character named Bob or Fred, of course not. And yet it is troubling if they're all named Bob or Fred. And so, you know, when I became a parent, I realized, like, this is not the landscape that I want, like, at the time, my daughter and then my sons to grow up with. And so I started writing these books partly because I wanted to share stories that meant so much to me, and also because I really wanted our daughters and our sons to grow up admiring these women, because I think it's really important that our boys have women role models too. And I see that even in our own house. I mean, it matters to me that, you know, Charlotte's obsessed with Simone Biles. She thinks that she is like the coolest person ever. And she puts on her little like Simone Biles cards and like tumbles around the house and is like, just like Simone. And I'm like, we all start somewhere. But then Aiden, right, her little brother, is like, looks at his sister who's admiring, you know, the greatest gymnast of all time. And Aiden's like, oh yeah, I can be like Simone too. And I'm like, oh, maybe. I mean, I don't know if either of my children are going to be like the next greatest gymnast of all time, but just the fact that it was so organic to Aiden to be like, oh yeah, like, well then, admittedly, it's also common on how much he worships his older sister, but he just kind of so naturally thinks, oh, well, I look up to her too. She can be my role model too. And then they kind of are arguing over like who gets to claim her. And I think that's exactly what I hope in my house to happen.
Yeah, and speaking of having amazing role models in our lives, we just lost one of the best in Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and I know she has a special place in your family's hearts, your dad having nominated her to the Supreme Court. I didn't realize, though, until recently, how she came to your dad's attention. Can you tell that story?
Absolutely. So my mother brought future Justice Ginsburg, then Judge Ginsburg, to my father's attention because my mother had looked up to Ruth Bader Ginsburg and had studied her work both as a lawyer and as a judge, and how she really had dismantled discrimination on the basis of sex. And you know, I've thought so much about Justice Ginsburg, certainly since her passing, but really, candidly, in the last few years, because she spoke and lived her life by the ethos of expanding the definition of we and we the people. Because as she said, you know, at the founding of our country, most of us were not included in the we, and that she dedicated her life to ensuring that kind of more of us would be and would have the legal protections to ensure that we would continue to be, I think is something I've reflected so much on in the last few years, because we're living under a current administration that seems to be doing everything it possibly can to strip out who is part of we the people and return the United States back to a less inclusive, less diverse place.
Yeah, and when we think about her life and what she's done on the fight for equality, when do you think we're going to get to a place where equality and seeing women in leadership positions at organizations, at companies, of countries, when is that the norm rather than the exception, do you think?
I mean, hopefully soon. I mean, although certainly if we continue on our current trajectories, whether we're looking in kind of politics or the private sector or the arts, it will take many decades for us to reach parity, whether we're kind of looking at representation or pay. So I don't think we can just kind of let inertia do our work for us. I think, we have to kind of force the changes that we want to see. I am a deeply optimistic person because I refuse to let the status quo win, and I don't want to live in the status quo because it is not the kind of equal or sustainable or equitable or healthy world that I want to live in, that I want my kids to grow up in. But Julie, we have to keep pushing. So whether that is kind of for pay equity, and I think so many of our women athletes have been just extraordinarily courageous, over many decades, kind of starting with Billie Jean King and then kind of right on up to what our women's soccer team is doing, to kind of continuing to support women's sports, whether that's watching and cheering on our extraordinary WNBA players, or really showing up for our women Olympians in the summer and winter games, and then also continuing to put pressure in our own communities and spaces, whether that's in our own homes or in our workplaces or schools. I just think we have to continue to be purposeful about kind of centering women, celebrating women, supporting women, promoting women, because the current trajectories aren't going to get us to parity very quickly. And already we face enormous resistance by the largely white, cisgendered, heterosexual men who don't have interest in conceding power. I mean, we're living through, I would argue, an election that is, again, a referendum on that question. And yet, of course, is like you pointed out, Julie, while this is about political representation, it's also about so much more. It's about everything.
Yeah. I mean, the big question remains, and many had hoped it would be your mother. And I always used to say, it will happen in our lifetime where we see a woman as president of the United States. And I actually think it's going to happen earlier than that. I don't think we're going to have to wait our lifetime for that. But what do you think it will take, and when can that happen?
Well, Julie, I think when will that happen is up to us as voters. I think, though, kind of increasing the likelihood of that happening and ensuring we elect a woman who actually is committed to kind of women's rights and human rights and combating climate change and improving and investing in public health and everything else that I think is so crucial. Of course, it's about ensuring we participate and vote in a presidential election. It's also about ensuring that we participate and show up and vote in our local and our state elections, because it matters who's elected at every level of government. But I also think, who is elected to Congress or who's elected to the city council or who's elected kind of to the state legislature, not only matters for what's possible the here and now. Those are often the women who will run for governor or who will run for Senate or who will one day, hopefully, run for president. I think a lot about what the great civil rights leader Coretta Scott King would often say, and she very much was an important civil rights leader in her own right. I think she's so often kind of treated in history as if she were, Dr. King's widow only, and yet she was a civil rights leader before they met, kind of during their life together, and also very much after his tragic assassination. And she, would often say that progress has to be protected and defended with each generation. because she understood that if we didn't continue to kind of protect and defend progress, we wouldn't be able to advance. And I think the last few years has also been a real reminder of kind of what we have to continue to fight for the rights that we've already achieved, including those that Justice Ginsburg very much helped to architect, as well as continuing to push forward.
Yeah. Yeah. And before we go to our last segment, which is most pressing questions, I will just say that, the one statistic that always rings out to me, given what we're living through in 2020, is the fact that, and it's a fact, it's been proven, they've analyzed it, that women leaders are the ones who have been leading the charge and doing the best in response to COVID globally. And you look at all the female leaders around the world, and sadly there's not more of them, but they have been having the best response to COVID globally than anyone else in the world, which says a lot, Chelsea Clinton. It does say a lot. All right. To most pressing questions, this is a segment that we do on our podcast, Chelsea, and we're going to steal it from that because we only have about 5 minutes left for you. So it's rapid fire. Are you ready, sister?
I'm ready.
You're ready.
I'm ready.
All right.
I'm
Okay. Is Charlotte playing soccer? I heard you talk about gymnastics, and
not right now.
Chelsea.
Not right. So yes, she does play soccer, but not in the middle of a global pandemic.
Okay, good. But she is playing.
Yes. So is Aiden. They're
good. Okay. Yay. That's good to hear. All right. What was your Secret Service code name while at the White House?
Energy.
Energy. Nice. Yeah. And your favorite Secret Service code name of anyone who's spent time at the White House?
Oh, gosh. I mean, I got to pick mine, right? So I kind of have to say energy. I mean, they told me I could pick something that began with E. And I was a super energetic 12-year-old. So, I mean, I think it would be a little bit sad if I didn't. I mean, I don't want to be like self-aggrandizing, but I think I have to pick my own name because I chose it, albeit almost 3 decades ago. Is that okay?
I like that.
Okay.
No, yes, own it. Mine is the best. Wait, why did you all have to start with an E?
I don't know, because they picked different letters for different administrations, and our family was an E. So my dad was Eagle, and my mom was Evergreen, and I was Energy.
I like that. I like Evergreen. I need that right now. All right, the barometer in which I judge all people. Who is better to eat donuts with, mom or dad?
Ooh. Probably my mom, because ever since, admittedly, my dad had heart surgery, he doesn't really eat donuts any longer. So he would just sort of look at them longingly and not eat them. And then I would feel badly for eating them. And then I'd probably eat his too. But at least with my mom, I know I'm just going to eat mine. And we're both
Is there any possibility of running for political office in the future?
I mean, not now, but I believe we all have to always consider that. So not now, not in the foreseeable future, but someday, maybe.
Oh, we got a maybe, I think I heard. Never say never is what I heard. Nice. Okay. What is still out there? I mean, you've done a ton in your young life. What is still out there on your bucket list to check off?
Ooh, so I would love to spend more time in Alaska, I have to say. I went there once as a kid on a nature trip with some friends, and I just thought it was such like a spectacularly beautiful place. So I'd love to spend some time there with my kids at some point.
Nice. I agree. Chelsea, thank you, my dear, for taking the time. Congratulations on She Persisted in Sports, the third in the She Persisted series. There's more coming out, I understand, in 2021 as well on other amazing women. Thank you for specifically highlighting these awesome female athletes and for taking the time with us today. So appreciate it.
Thank you, Julie, and thank you to everyone at the summit, and
good
shout out to the WNBA for the super comfy, cozy sweatshirt.
I I know. You got to do it live and in person one day because it really is something. So thanks for joining us, my friend. Great to catch up with you.
Nice to see you. Thanks, everybody. Stay safe.
Hey, Jules, that wow, very, very cool. And as always, you just have such a gift that I didn't realize until I met you doing First Take probably like in 2008 or 2009. But you are able to bring out the best in everyone, including one Chelsea Clinton. What's your biggest takeaway from that interview with her?
How much, when I, look at what she's put out there in terms of some of the things she's authored in the books and the work and the advocacy, how much she's done in her short life, as I was just saying at the end, for women, about women, as a advocate for women. I mean, her books are tremendous. And now you have it in the children's space, of course, but she also has, fantastic books on gutsy women as well. So it's been fun to see her progression and her blossom and do all the great work that she does.
It's crazy. I think so many of us still picture her as this little girl in the White House, and she's all grown up. So you know what that means about us, right? Oh boy, time flies. Don't do any math, anybody, please. By the way, and as always, I mean, you ended on such a high note, laughter permitted, just like your podcast. I like how you stole a little bit of that for Chelsea. And then we get the whole shebang tomorrow, don't we? Would you like to tease ahead to what your podcast will be presenting us tomorrow?
Oh, Sage, let's talk about tomorrow. We get to sit down with the Natalie Portman, Academy Award winning actress. I mean, she's done everything. But most importantly, she would put on the top of her resume, she is now a fellow co-owner with me at Angel City, the new women's pro soccer team coming to Los Angeles in 2022. Woo-woo! So we're going to talk tomorrow.
Incredible. And I'm sorry, I failed to congratulate you for being a co-owner of a professional sports team. Are you kidding me? Listen, you have the World Cup, you have the Olympics, you get to work with me. I mean, I know that those things are amazing, but to own a team, Julie, partly, did you ever think that was possible?
Sage, I'm a massive deal. I don't know if you know that. I'm a massive deal.
I love you, and I know you're a big deal.
I miss you.
I can't wait to see you in person again sometime soon. I hope you. I hope.
Know.
Are we bringing Spainer back in?
With a cocktail in our hand,
Oh,
sister.
never. Yeah. By the way, I will say this, and I think Sarah might have been a witness to this. I'm trying to remember 2 years ago when Foudy and one of our bosses, one of our producers, Rachel Epstein, talked trash forever, and then it came down to an arm wrestling match. Mm-hmm. And guess who won? Not the Olympic gold medalist.
Not Foudy. No,
Rachel
our very
Epstein.
petite,
still got the guns.
Very petite friend Rachel with the guns in the khakis. Yeah, she crushed you in khakis. We'll never live that down.
Are we really going to tell this story? Because we really should tell it if we're going to tell this story.
Well, you mean when the police came?
Yeah, that part. Oh, no. But what did Foudy do? You threw me under the bus.
It's not important what Foudy did. It was more that Sage said, "Are those strippers or real police?" I'm sorry, that was 3 today. I went over my quota, Sage. I was only going to burn you twice.
You know what I was hoping, and then unfortunately they were like, "You guys are too loud." I was like, "Aren't you going to unbutton?"
These are real police, Sage. And then they were like, "Is that Sage Steele from SportsCenter?"
No, Julie is the one that said, "Hey, Mr. Officer."
6 p.m. Sports Center right there.
Talk about, by the way,
you know her.
How much we all wish we were together and finishing tonight with, being poolside or whatever. I actually name drop. This is how big of a deal I am. I got drinks with Chelsea Clinton in LA years ago because one of my college friends is a lifelong friend of hers who walked her mom down the aisle at her wedding. Oh. And so we got drinks at the Viceroy. I got to hang with Chelsea. She would never remember, but I was there.
That's a good name drop.
I thought I was a massive deal. Damn. Nice, Spainer.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. So once again, start booking your tickets for next year's summit because this is what you get. I mean, really, it's priceless. Foudy, you're done. Thank you. Bring you back tomorrow. Be on time. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right, Sarah Spain. So many takeaways from day number one.
Yeah.
Started, of course, with our fearless leader, Laura Gentile, sitting to my left. The leadership panel, the world-class athlete panel, the mental health on sports panel, Kathy Engelbert conversation, very enlightening as always, and then of course with Chelsea Clinton. So with that, I would like to introduce the Summit Top 5 presented by Toyota. This is something that we do every year. Usually the last day, we're going to do it both days to just go through what we believe. Well, it's just more what really grabbed our attention, right? The top 5 items, and it's tough to edit to 5. So you get to go first with number 5.
Okay. All right. I love these because I do think it's important to take all the ideas and the wonderful things we talk about and actually take away from them and then figure out how to use them instead of just spending the day immersed in all this stuff. So my number 5 starts with Kate Johnson from that first panel. She said one of her favorite quotes is essentially, be willing to sacrifice what you are for what you could become.
Yes.
And I think that feels like a job or a location or a marriage or something very like physical, like I'm going to be willing to give up this job to get a better one. But I think it can also be how you see the world, how you see the industry you're in, the programming that you have. And I think that ties to what Chelsea was talking about, whether that's asking why about the books that your kids are reading or why leadership is predominantly male. I remember this great moment in Rebecca Lobo's Hall of Fame speech for the Naismith Hall of Fame, where she said her daughter walked in once and her husband was watching men's college basketball, and her daughter said, boys play basketball too? And it was this idea that in their household, they watched women's basketball all the time. And that's what her daughter grew up knowing and believing was the thing. We can do that in our worlds, in our companies, in our families, in our communities, by introducing things, by asking why things are the way they are, instead of just accepting them. And that, I think, is as big a part of being willing to let go of who you were to become what you could be, is that programming and those ideas that you've always had, and asking yourself, why do I have these ideas, and do I need to hold on to them and cling to them, or can I let myself move on?
I'm going to actually kind of piggyback on that because there was so much. I took diligent notes. I actually can't read them. Hopefully it'll come back to me. But from the leadership panel that we began, and Shiz Suzuki from AT&T, and again, AT&T's been such a great sponsor for us. And you know what? I think all 3 of them touched on this actually, the teammate part. But and Kate said it, serving with her teammates. So she might be the boss, and certainly a leader, all of them in countless ways, but to serve alongside your teammates, your employees, right? I think that is overlooked in leadership, and even though you might have the title, et cetera, like what do you do with that? And when you bring yourself to the level of your teammates, even if you are the boss, I just believe that that's priceless. And the vulnerability part of it with being a leader, the accountability part of it. Those 3 women are doing all of those things every single day while uplifting others along the way and advocating. That was the word that Kate used. Advocating for girls. Yes, mentorship, sponsorship, but advocating for them. So I took so much from that panel, but again, putting everybody on one level. Just because you have that title, that salary, doesn't mean you're above anyone. We're in this together. It's actually pretty simple.
It is pretty simple. And the idea of leadership being not about being the leader, but what is the product of the team that you're the leader of? And it's that product going to be much better if you're actually lifting them and making them the best they can be, or if you're just aggrandizing yourself. Obviously, we all know the answer to that. I mentioned this before, but my number 3 takeaway is from that mental health panel. And I mentioned the idea of asking people how they're doing, but not just your friends. But I think right now we let some of our online habits transfer over to real life, and we forget the rules of engagement that we've all sort of agreed on in being humans that live together in the world. And that tension, that desire to dig in your heels and to always be right, I think we need to normalize the idea of getting new information and changing your opinion, or of listening to somebody else's opinion, taking it in, and then talking back and forth with them about why they feel that way. And that could be about something serious, and it could be about someone's behavior right now, right? Like someone who doesn't want to wear a mask, or someone who's causing a scene, or someone who's being rude to you, or any number of things, right? Instead of just lashing out, why don't we ask why they're behaving that way? Are you okay? Do you need me to explain something? Do you need to have a conversation about this? Do you need to go back and forth? Do you need someone to help you? Do you need someone to reach out and offer you kindness? And I find sometimes online when people are incredibly rude to me, I say, hey, I'm so sorry you're going through something. I hope things get better. Because I can't imagine that people are just screaming at strangers that they're fat and ugly and terrible unless they themselves are struggling. And I think we need to think really hard about what people are going through right now, particularly with COVID and everything else, the stressors of the election coming up, the uncertainty of the upcoming months, and be able to have those conversations with people about, you know, why they're behaving the way they are and why they have the opinions that they do, so that we can meet and connect more than I think we have been of late.
You know, again, it's pretty simple to me. I say it to my teenagers as they're fighting. Some of it I try to expose on social media to embarrass them and stop them from fighting. It doesn't always work. But just kindness, it actually is so much easier. Even when others can't do it with you, it's okay. It's the right thing. I swear I didn't know what your top 3 were, but I'm going to piggyback again because the mental health panel, this would be, if I had number 1, this would be my number 1. I actually think that one of the silver linings of this brutal stretch is people have come out more and shown their vulnerability. And the 3 athletes you had on that panel did just that. And I a year ago, certainly not any further back than that, I can't imagine that many people on that kind of platform coming out and comfortably talking about these things, whether it's eating disorders or anxiety or whatever it may be. It brought tears to my eyes. And then I just wanted to jump through the screen and hug them all for thanking them. It does take courage. And I think we all know people, maybe even ourselves, who go through those things, but we keep it to ourselves. And what does that do? Number 1, it eventually builds up. There's never a good ending for that. But I said this earlier. Number 2, when you are able and confident enough and courageous enough to share your crap, you're helping others along the way. And I really believe, as I'm a glass half full person, that that's one of the best things to come of the last 7-8 months, this entire damn year, is that we're out there and we're talking and we're sharing. And I'm just so thankful that people are choosing that, because it is a choice. I
agree.
And I think you've heard me say this before about the harder right versus the easier wrong. It's part of the cadet prayer from West Point. It's harder to do those things and to put yourself out there. It's easier to just stay within yourself. But look what happens when you put it out there. So virtual hug to the athletes on the mental health panel.
Agreed. And a big thank you to them for sharing that and putting themselves out there. My final number 1 is back to sort of Chelsea at the end, and being the change that you want to see, taking all the things that we talk about and acting on them. And I happened to, right before the summit today, be reminded of something that was going viral again. Michelle Williams at the Golden Globes in January of this year said, when it comes time to vote, please do so in your self-interest, women. It's what men have been doing for years, which is why the world looks so much like them. Now, right now, we're talking about actually voting, right? But we vote with our purchases, we vote with our support, we vote with our voices, we vote with our attendance at events, we vote with the people that we share our lives and time with. I think we need to continue to think of our own self-interest and not of that being selfish, but that as women, we can do big things, we can do hard things, we can do big changes that are necessary in our world if we believe that what we care about and what's meaningful to us will make the world a better place. And we need to stop looking around and voting in whatever way that may be against our own self-interest. So that's number 1 for me.
Sarah,
right now.
and I will say I've talked about this in many aspects of my life recently, and what I have found, and I know we have to get going here, is that I was making myself smaller for others around me. That's not okay. Professionally,
well, I hope
personally,
you're listening tomorrow.
All of those things.
Glennon Doyle and Abby Wambach and I are going to be going in on that. And that is part of tomorrow.
Untamed.
You will need to chime in for that one. Yes, we're all going to be untamed, especially after that conversation tomorrow. That's part of tomorrow. We're going to have that. I cannot wait for that. I don't know how I'm going to keep it to 40 minutes. But we also have Natalie Portman.
Yep.
We have Dream Hampton. You're going to talk with badass boss lady Danny Garcia. We've got the research and insights about women in sports, which are always massive takeaways from these events and how they change each year. Fantastic Women of ESPN panel. I love all these women that we're going to be chatting from ESPN with. So just an amazing day in store tomorrow. Be sure to come back. I promise that Glennon and Abby, we're gonna peel those layers off of all of us, all of our programming, and get to the good stuff. But speaking of peeling off layers, all right, everybody, no excuses. I got a towel. I got a Gatorade bottle. It doesn't matter what you're wearing. It doesn't matter where you are. There are so many excuses right now during COVID, and we have all found ways to work out via Zoom or our stairs or with our kids or whatever it is. So we're doing it again now. And you have no excuses not to work out with one of the most famous and best trainers of all time, Gunnar Peterson. It is the Summit Sweat Session presented by Gatorade with Gunnar Peterson. Get your sweat on. Let's do this.
Hey, I'm Gunnar Peterson. Welcome to the Summit Sweat Session presented by Gatorade. End of day one of the summit. How great was that? Now it's time to move your body. That's why I'm here. Duh. So for this workout, I made it simple. You're gonna need something to use as resistance. You can use water bottles, you can use Gatorade bottles, you can use Propel bottles, you can use paint cans, you can use aerosol cans. You need something to add an external load to your body. Again, it could just be a water bottle. Anything easy that makes your body challenged versus just lifting the weight of your body. We're trying to push here. It's progressive. That's what we're doing. We're getting better. And you're gonna need probably a piece of cardboard if you're outside, if you're gonna get outside and get some fresh air, or a towel if you're on a hard surface in your house, and something to drink and a towel, little side towel to mop up the sweat that you're gonna generate while we do this workout. Oh yeah, you're gonna sweat. So let's get some blood moving. I'm gonna move you in all three planes of motion. We're gonna go head to toe with a warm up, a little bit of elevated heart rate, and then we're gonna start training. Here it comes. Some quick arm circles, just roll them forward, big reach up, let them drop. Make sure you don't hold your breath during that. That's common, but it's not common for you. Now roll them to the back. Chest stays high. Roll them and let them drop. Once they reach their apex, just let them drop. Perfect. Shake them out. Now bring them across the body. And now widen your feet and roll them. They're going to go together. Let them just slap where they slap. Good. Open up the hips a little bit. Now I want you to relax the arms, and I want you to step to the side, lean into it. Step to the other side, lean into it. Open up inner thighs. Keep the chest high. Keep your breathing steady. Go where you can go. Doesn't have to be a huge step, just has to be a step. Different plane of motion, right? I told you we'd do that. Perfect. Now take that left foot forward, rock back, rock forward, rock back, rock forward. You feel hamstring, quad activate, hamstring stretch, quad activate. Other side. Right foot forward, sink it back. Go slow on this. You've been sitting for a while. Move it easy, easy, easy. Perfect. Now wide stretch the legs. Come down one side, lock it out. Exhale, drop that forward shoulder, reach that hand down. You should feel this in the hamstring of the leg you're reaching towards. Big up and over. Exhale, drop the shoulder, lock the leg, hamstring. You should feel it all the way up almost into the glute. Back to center, sit down into it, reach forward. Where can you go? If you're at 90 degrees, that's great. If you want to go lower, that's fine. If you want to sink down, you're fine, but if you're here, you're good. Find your breathing. Right here, sink low, elbows to the inner thighs, press outside. Shift your weight a little bit. Big inhale, exhale, I want you to drop the head and then curl up from the tailbone. Shoulders roll, shake it out. Now, grab something to lift, something, just a little bit of resistance. I'm gonna grab water bottles, here we go. All right, so I have water bottles, adjustable resistance, see how I did that? I want you to hold these up at shoulder level. We are gonna go into a rear lunge and a press. When you are down, the weights are down. When you are up, the weights are up. So rear lunge, up. You can put the kickstand down or you can find your balance and press. Rear lunge and press. You're waking up the whole body. You're getting lower body, core, upper body. And if you get enough reps in, you're gonna feel your heart rate bump up. One more time. Perfect. If you need less resistance, other side, here we go. Lunge, press. Rear lunge, press. Keep your breathing going, that's on you. Honor system. 2 more. Nice job. So your next move, changing up planes of motion, is a lunge. It's lateral, but it's gonna have an angle to it. So I want you to step back a little bit, flank the foot with the resistance, come to center, curl, so you bring the upper body into this. Angle other side, back center, curl. Ready, here we go. We got 8 and 8, 16 total. Do the math. Step back, pop up, curl. Step back, curl right there. Chest up, chin up on the curl. Keep it tight to you. Upper arm stays tight to your body. Curl them. It's more of a drag curl than a traditional curl, but you'll feel the biceps kick in straight away. Remember, you're stepping out, hit the position, drive back up strong with emphasis, make it strong, powerful, athletic. Life is a sport, you're the athlete. I promise you that's true, and if you go with that mindset, you're gonna get so much more out of all your workouts. Coming out of the hole with emphasis. Last 2, curl tight. Last 1. Great job. All right, for your next move, you don't need your resistance. You need a towel. Pick a towel with the right length for you. And you're gonna reach out to the ends of it. I want your hands slightly wider than shoulder width. Little bend at the knees, hinge at the hip low so it feels almost like a deadlift. Hands are wide, keep the towel taut. Reach down, shoot your hips back, keep your weight in your heels. Come up, reach back. Down, up, reach back. You don't want the towel sagging. I want you to keep that tension on it. Down, back. Feel the stretch in the ab wall as you go back. But I want you to come up and open up overhead. Right abdominal extension, come back down. Low position of a deadlift, flat back, shoot the hips back, tiny break at the knees, up, long. Open it at the top, work it. Think shoulder mobility. Blood to the low back. Central nervous system gently awakened. Find your breathing. For some of you, this is gonna feel like an exercise. For some of you, it's gonna feel like a stretch. Just like the resistance, right? It's what works for you. You can always go heavier, you can always go lighter. It's not a powerlifting contest. It's about feeling better, getting better. Last one, come down, hips back, weights in the heels, up and through. All right, for your next move, lose the towel, grab whatever you're using for resistance, and you're gonna drop down into a sit position. Feet out front, heels in contact with the ground, slight bend at the knees, lean back until you feel the abs engage. If you're up here, you're gonna feel them, they're not working, boom, they'll kick in. Resistance, 1, 2, whatever works for you, hold them together, and you're gonna go side to side. Think about putting it in your back pocket. I want the head and shoulders to follow it. So I don't want this, I want down, down, down. We're going 30 reps, 30 rotations, 1, 2, 3, just like that. Follow me, stay with it, lean back, stay engaged, rock and roll. Keep rotating, don't sit up, that's what happens. Stay back, stay engaged. Your cue mentally is every time you pass center line, are you drawing your abs in, making sure they're engaging? You're working another plane of motion. I promised you all 3 planes of motion will be hit in this workout. Think about this move. Every time you reach back to put your seatbelt on, you're working transverse plane. When you take something out of the overhead bin in an airplane, you're working transverse plane. When you pick your kid up out of the crib and turn, transverse plane. You have to train in transverse plane. See how I did that? All right, so for your next move, you don't need your resistance. You need a piece of cardboard if you're out on the grass or the turf. And if you're inside on a hardwood floor, I would recommend using a towel. I want you to come up all fours, toes on the ground, and they stay on the ground. Don't let your hips, when we rock back, don't let them sink all the way towards your heels. Keep them just above the knees. And I want you to extend and draw back. So open up the abs on the way out. Again, abs and extension. And then draw back strong with conviction and round up like a Halloween cat. Here we go, we're going to 10. Go out where you can go. Shoulder girdle opens up. Out. Draw up. Make sure you're breathing. Steady with it, almost home. Last one out. And up. Beautiful. Abs and extension. It's going to help you in every sport you play. All right, for your next move, you don't need your cardboard, but you do need a towel. So if that's what you were using first, you're ahead of us. I want you to drop down, fully extend on the floor. Keep the towel taut, toes are pointed, arms are out. You're going to come up into a Superman. So it's a raise and down. Your thought is, how little of your body can you leave on the floor with every rep? Yes, you're going to feel your lower back, but remember, your lower back is a muscle group. It's the antagonist of the abs. You have to train it. It's part of the core. You have to train it. If you feel sore tomorrow, it's because you worked the muscle. It's not because you injured it. Slow and steady. All you're lifting is a towel. Ready? Here we go. 10 reps. Body's out. Up. Easy down. Up. Slight pause. Own it. Easy down. Up. You see why they call it a Superman, right? It's not named after me. Up. You got 4 of them. Nice job. Superman's in the books. All right, next move. Lose the towel or keep it if you're inside. Cardboard if you're on the grass. Heels on the cardboard. Drop down, legs extended, hands by your side, but not close enough to your body that you would hit them. Out here, you're gonna curl up with the legs and bridge with the hips. You're working the hamstrings, right? Biceps femoris, it's the biceps of the lower body. So it's that for this. So think about curling it in and bridging up. Fire the glutes at the top of the movement. Glutes are the key to athletic performance. They also play a part in our aesthetic. I'm sure you guys know that. Here we go, drop down, 12 reps. Curl, bridge, extend, curl, bridge, extend. Gotta breathe. Key for men and women. Don't think you're exempt from this. Men, they're looking at you. Women, you know they're looking at you. Athletes, coaches are watching your power production. Remember, when you curl in and bridge up, you want to think straight line, well, angled, but flat, you know what I'm saying, from your shoulders to your knees. Extend, draw in, bridge up. Extend, draw in, bridge up, like you're trying to kick yourself in the butt. Get your hips out of the way so your heels can get underneath. Bridge up, fire those glutes, extend. Great job on the leg curls. All right, guys, let's finish strong. Lose the cardboard or towel, whatever you had. You're gonna get into a push-up position. Hands about shoulder width apart. Legs back, shoulder width apart also. I want you to drop down into a push-up, and when you come up, rotate around, swing away. Head and shoulders follow the hand. Back, you're alternating. Rotate. We're gonna go to 12. Look, if you bring them in tighter, more tricep recruitment. You keep them wide, more chest, obviously front shoulder on both. You can also stagger them just to shift the emphasis. I'm gonna keep them center. Let your imagination go wild. Here we go, down, up, rotate, down, rotate, swing away, draw the abs in as you pivot. Everything rotates. Feet are gonna move, hips are gonna turn. Keep your breathing steady. Press into the ground, make it a strong, powerful movement. If the full push-up is too much, I'd rather have you reduce range of motion and work on the rotation and controlling it on one hand, right? Obviously, the idea is to progress so you can get all the way down and up. So you go halfway, each time thinking about, can I get a little deeper and up? Work to get stronger, work to your strengths. Nicely done with the resistance training. Obviously strength work, a little bit of conditioning, definitely some mobility and flexibility. Now, add some cardio to it. Go outside your door, turn left, walk 10 minutes. Try to get back in less than 20 total. Or walk a minute, run a minute, walk a minute, run a minute. Or if you're a beast, yeah, you're probably a beast if you're at this summit. Run 10, come back 10, or 15, 15, 20, 20. The goal is whatever you do time-wise out, try to get back in less than that same time so you're working to push, push, push. We're always trying to get better. Have a great time at the summit, guys. Thanks for letting me be here.
So I think that's as close as I'll ever get to working out with Gunnar. So thank you. Tomorrow I'm going to bring my fitness clothes and forget about trying to impress you. He is back tomorrow for a wellness session focused on stretching and breathing. Maybe a little breathing meditation in there, something I think we could all use right about now. So there you have it. Day one is in the books. I want to say a special thanks to my teammate extraordinaire, Sarah Spain, and the entire ESPNW crew. We cannot wait to see you tomorrow. Same time, same place. It begins at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 11 a.m. Pacific, and we're here once again till 6 o'clock, 3 o'clock Pacific. Awesome stuff. See you tomorrow for day two of the ESPNW Women in Sports Summit.
Thank you for watching the ESPNW Women in Sports Summit, presented by Toyota.